Nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, say, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Have you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
Bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. SpiceFM. Spice up your life.
Good morning. Thursday looks like it's going to start out really well. Not much in terms of traffic today. A little bit of a dot here on Jogo Road heading out towards Landis. And then we're going to see that drama on Mombasa Road. The rains have brought untold drama, especially at the construction sites. We're looking at Mombasa Road already looking quite tricky right around the SGR because of those waterlogged trenches. A lot of folks are having to swim to where they are going. But let's just try and be careful as much as possible and find out the situation in about half hour. We're looking at the Thika Superhighway also building up a little bit here and there. But I still think that we have some minutes before we get into traffic hour. Let's be careful. The rains are here. And as we traverse the streets this morning, let's make sure we do that, knowing that the bypasses will be available for use in a short while. And then let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this Thursday.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. 102.5 Spice FM. Kisumu. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to the big conversation. It's the biggest conversation in the country. The Situation Room, 24th day of February 2022. 4 days to the end of the month. And then the president on his way from Sagana will use the expressway.
Let me tell you, this morning, coming to work about 2.5 hours ago, I thought of you, City Muga, and I saw people working vigorously with floodlights. I said, these people have a week to go. And I said, Omo.
Even if they work with floodlights.
I said, Omo, you guys need to meet a guy called City Muga. Just rest. Because we know Tuesday, it's not possible.
You know, he said March.
Vigorously.
He did not say 1st of March.
He did not say 1st of March.
Why don't
Omo, even give them 30th of March, 31st of March.
You know, earliest that road is going to be ready, June.
June?
June.
So they're on schedule.
Of course they're on schedule. Because so long as it's within this year, it's okay.
March 2022. You have to take the whole statement into consideration. 2022.
They know very well what needs to be done. They know very well when the road can actually be completed, realistically. But then there is what they told the president.
Indeed.
And then...
There's what the president told Kenyans.
Well, yes, because that's what they told them. Now, this simple matter of simply speaking your truth is something that seems to be eluding our esteemed engineers.
The truth?
Yeah, just the truth. Say, Mr. President, the truth is, we can't finish this thing in March. Truth. Even if we speed it up, the earliest we can finish this thing is May. Okay? Now, we hope you understand that. Now, but so long as you keep saying March, what you're doing is you are aggravating a wound that already exists.
Well, we'll be talking about the roads, of course, until the end of March. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. I was just going to tell you, it's only goats that stands up and just goes without greeting his family members. Goats.
I was greeting the audience, and you jumped in with your stories of ghosts.
In the darkness?
Yes. How are you doing, City?
Very well, thank you. Yes.
Good. You ask me so that I can move on.
Eric,
Yes.
how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic.
Karibu.
Karibu.
Sana. Well, we'll have interesting conversations today. So the president was in Sagana yesterday, Sagana 3, and he spoke. It's a matter of headlines today. Excuse me.
Oh,
Bless you.
God bless you.
You walked in here, Ndu, and you just didn't do.
I don't
just
understand.
had one job.
Why is that
to
they will
do.
be joining my name with blame? I don't understand.
Just one job to do. One.
Why?
One. So at 7 o'clock, we'll have the MP for Ndaragwa, Jeremiah Kioni. He'll be here with us. He was in Sagana yesterday, so he'll come and tell us. So what exactly did the president mean? From your own understanding, did you have some other side meetings? And then, remember, he's in Jubilee, and Jubilee is preparing to have its NDC. And then the expected endorsement of Raila Odinga's presidency and another big rally on Sunday. So what's the game plan here? What's happening? Jeremiah Kioni will be joining us at 7. At 8 o'clock, let's talk Justice Thursdays. It's Thursday, hashtag Justice Thursdays. We'll have a Deputy Commissioner General of Prisons with us in the studio. So her name is Florence Omundi. She's the Deputy Commissioner General of Prisons at the Kenya Prison Service. We want to talk about protecting the rights of children who are accompanying their imprisoned mothers. We talked about this with the Clean Start Foundation. So today we want to hear from those that are charged with this institution. What do they do when the children come accompanying their mothers to prison? How do they protect them? So conversation we'll be having. Keep it here for this and more. COVID.
All right. I thought to look at vaccinations and what we've done or not done in the country so far. Still, 24,648,720 are the vaccines that have come into the country to date. Those are the ones that have been received. 16,298,878 have been administered. So we've done significantly better than had been where it looked like a stalemate for the last couple of months. So there are about 8 million vaccines available for uptake in the country. Of the 16 million, 7.7 million have been the total first doses. 7.4 million have been the fully vaccinated above the age of 18. 906,932 of the Pfizer vaccine have been administered to youth between 15 and 18, to children between 15 and 18. 244,391 have been booster doses. So now we're looking at 27.2% of the total population, the adult population, having been fully vaccinated. The call remains. Come on, guys. Get out, get vaccinated. I believe that there will be more vaccines coming into the country. So then it would cast a bit of questioning doubt over the money then that is being budgeted in the supplementary budget for vaccines.
For vaccine acquisition.
Yes. All right. Let's look quickly at what's happening around the world. 430 million is where we are now. If we look specifically at the United States, and some of these other countries inching closer and closer to some record numbers. But again, still, the health system not bursting at the seams, still being able to manage, especially with the rise of the Omicron variant. And then, lastly, evictions rise. evictions of private tenants returning to pre-pandemic levels, government figures show. And you may ask, where is this? It's an interesting story that has come out of London, whereby people had been previously evicted because of their COVID status, or
Evicted from what? From where?
their,
By who?
From their rented homes by their landlords because of not giving a COVID status, and landlords then also getting some flack from government for not handing this. The government introduced a ban on evictions in March 2020 to protect renters during the pandemic, but this was lifted in May 2021. Government figures show that repossession claims by private landlords are returning to pre-pandemic levels. Figures show a total of 9,410 court claims against tenants were made in the final quarter of 2021. So it's a combination of things: not showing your COVID status, at the same time not paying your rent because of lack of money. Right? And this was brought about obviously because people had to stay indoors, and especially for those who were paid a daily wage, then they could not pay their rent. So there's that whole thing now where people are back in court. People are asking to go back to their homes. Now they have a little bit of something. Here it is, a bit of a messy situation.
So landlords are the same everywhere?
Indeed. Doesn't matter what side of the pond you are on. Landlord is a landlord is a landlord.
Landlord ni kama fundi. Everywhere you go, same. Fundi in this country, fundi in the UK, fundi in Russia, same. Promises that are never kept. 17 minutes after 6, we are live streaming the show on SpiceFM on Facebook and YouTube. We are also having the conversations on Twitter, SpiceFM KE, and Instagram. If you're online, say hello. We'll be taking a roll call shortly after we take a look at the weather forecast.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working, and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
15 degrees, Nairobi is mostly cloudy. It'll go to highs of 24 and lows of 15 today. A chance of rain later on. Mostly cloudy conditions at 14 in Nakuru, highs of 24 and lows of 14. Mostly cloudy at 14 in Nyeri, highs of 23 and lows of 13. And it's clear at 13 in Eldoret. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 13. Clear conditions is what we see in Mombasa this morning at 26, going to highs of 32. And 31 will be the high in a mostly clear Malindi, currently at 27 and lows of 26. It's cloudy in Kisumu at 20, highs of 28 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega, cloudy at 16 this morning, highs of 27 and lows of 15. We'll see mostly clear conditions at 22 in Kampala. 27 will be the high, coming down to lows of 20, while in Dar es Salaam, it's raining this morning at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 26. Johannesburg, clear at 15. Sun yet to come up. When it does, we'll see highs of 27 and lows of 15. Clear conditions at 27 in Lagos. Already really warm early morning. Highs of 34 and lows of 26. It's mostly clear for now in Kinshasa at 25. Highs of 32 and lows of 24. Let's look out into Beijing. We're at 5. Going into early afternoon, it's sunny, highs of 10 and lows of -6 today. Cloudy at 9 in Paris, highs of 13 and lows of 3. Clear conditions at 9 in London. That'll be the high for today, coming down to lows of 5. And around things off in New York. Still, Wednesday night, it's clear at 4. It's going to be pretty warm today. First time high of 20 in a few months. And lows of 6.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Chris Samolo says he's tuned in from the lakeside city of Kisumu and ready to listen. Thanks for joining us, Chris, this morning. representing Gadhambi in Kirinyaga. That's where Mushubi Gadhambi is. And from Kilifi County, Hila Ilaze says, good morning. Watching from Uganda. That's what Kayanja Isaac says. And he says, hugs from this side. Well, right back at you, man. In from Kitale is Willie Bazu, and Esther's Rogers tuned in this morning from Zambia. This is the Zim of Zambia.
So Zim of Zambia.
This is the Zim of Zambia.
Okay.
The other Zim is of Zim, but this one is for Zambia. Okay. Good morning, Tuko. That's what Victor says. Tuning in live from Uganda, Hoima Oil City. Good morning, and big up to Arsenal fans like Eric Latiff here. Dave Ramsey says good morning. Benedict.
Kumendaje? Tumeshinda league.
A few more games, you'll be okay. Oh, you've not been awake? No, okay. Buzie Shele says, good morning. Ellie Michael is tuning from Mombasa this morning. And we see folks in Nakuru as well. Gordon Mugisha tuning from Kampala. South Africa in the building. Buzie Shele, like we can see you. Alan in Eldoret. Jonathan Mwenda. Robert Mbogo Benson. Mumo. George Mashuki. Everybody, good morning. We can see you. Likoni tuning from Emuhaya. Benson. There's so many people joining us this morning, and we can't say thanks enough. Asante.
Okay. Ati, what is that one saying? Wana mahelele tuko pamoja.
Wana
mahele tuko pamoja. What is that?
Wana mahele tuko pamoja sana. Brian Omumunupi.
Sawa basi.
Sijui mimi.
Sawa, tuko pamoja kabisa. We are all together. Yes, City. The proverb.
Yes, one more proverb from Tunisia. The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
Oh, yeah.
It's clearly an old proverb because not having hair on your head is fashionable.
Nowadays, really, it is. It
Really?
was even. And it's made a comeback, right?
The more things change, the more they remain the same.
Plus ça change, plus la même chose.
That one. Okay, let's look at the newspaper headlines. www.standardmedia.co.ke. Also, you can get the Standard e-paper on the Play Store and the App Store. What do you have? Start.
Well, the thing that everybody's shouting and touting about.
Yeah.
Uhuru White cannot be Ruto is what the Standard says. My deputy is unfit to rule, what the Nation says. And I'm sure the Star says something interesting about that. CTBB, let us know. Covered on
The headline is straightforward. Raila is my man. Ruto bad for Kenya. Uhuru.
There you go. So, I mean,
headline.
let's look at what the Standard says. Uhuru White cannot be Ruto. On Raila, Uhuru says, and I quote, support Raila. A man seated can see very far compared to a lad on a tree. I choose to sit with Raila. If Ruto mends his ways, we may support him in future. On Ruto, you cannot judge us. You cannot, rather, give us huge amounts of dubious money and then tell us which way to go while carrying the Bible. You are the one who will go to hell. Wow. President confronts rebellion in his backyard and in no-hold-barred criticism of his deputy at Sagana State Lodge. Explains why he has ditched him for his handshake partner, setting the stage for a bruising battle for the heart and soul of the region that has been leaning towards the DP. This is covered on 4, 6 and 7 of the Standard. Just give you a tidbit of that first part. Concerned by the rebellion against him in his erstwhile stronghold and a surge in Ruto's popularity, Uhuru yesterday asked Mount Kenya voters to listen to him, walk with him, and support his choice of successor come the August elections. The president, who had invited 5,000 delegates at the Sagana State Lodge, had promised to reveal why he fell out with Ruto and demonstrate his determination to clip Ruto's wings in the region. He enumerated various challenges he encountered with his deputy, including starting campaigns early and failing to serve the public. Speaking in Kikuyu, the president, who was the only one who spoke at the meeting, accused Ruto of undermining his administration, saying he was hardly in the office. According to him, in the past, those responsible for agriculture had overseen the collapse of various subsectors, including tea, coffee, rice, and pyrethrum. However, Uhuru thanked Agriculture CS Peter Munya, whom he accredited with reviving the agriculture sector, and who he proposed would continue with the work even in future. He claimed that some leaders in his government had been using their positions to divert public resources. and then making huge cash donations in churches. He called out spiritual leaders who accepted such donations and then used the pulpit to mislead their flock. Last quote I'll read: church leaders should also not lie to our people. We are also peace lovers and will give our tithes and donations, but don't accept money stolen from public coffers and then you come to lie to us. If it is you who is headed to Jahannam because the money was meant for Ogeil Marakwet dams, you better take 100 shillings that someone has sweated for rather than a stolen 1 million. No holds barred.
He spoke.
Teeth gnashing, guns blazing, shooting from the hip. Here he was yesterday.
Completely. He spoke and said very many things. And he was even actually talking to the youth, because he understands very well that it's the youth who are leading the rebellion against him in the region. And he spoke to them. He said, you know, some of you do not know where we've come from, of how far we've come. There are those that will tell you that they were taking their children to school just from the proceeds of their farms, coffee, tea, and all, and they would be able to, and dairy, and they'd be able to pay school fees for their children. Now, it's not possible. Even by the time Kibaki was coming in and saying, let school be free, this is where he was coming from. It's because the economy had really tanked. And here we are today, we're reviving all those. There's a lot that that's happening in this country that you youth may not know, but you'll clearly see in good time. And he told leaders, don't fear speaking to the youth. Tell them the truth. Just tell them what they need to hear. They may shout and heckle and
They
boo,
may not like it,
but they will see the point. By and by, they'll see the point.
In the street, by and by.
You know what is of interest? Is that people actually want to be led. It sounds strange, it even sounds obvious, but why do I say people want to be led? The number of times you hear this narrative of, but we are not sure which way we should go. And politically speaking, one is often referring to who we should support. And this was made clearer to me when I looked at, according to everything that one read and heard, the invitation was for 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Yet over 20,000 people
turned up.
Descended. Okay? It was, well, they assumed it was an open meeting, so they decided to go and listen with their own 2 ears and to hear.
Yep.
Why? If people were not interested in hearing, why would they go?
They wanted to hear what this message was going to be.
The opportunity arose, they wanted to hear it. And why?
From the horse's mouth, no less.
Yes, and why would they want to hear it? What was of such great interest? You know, there are always consequences for actions that we take. But the thing that comes to perhaps damn us and give us sleepless nights are usually the unintended consequences. Things that you hadn't quite foreseen would happen, and yet they happen. When the president talks about telling the youth the truth, these wazees, as he calls them, don't even tell each other the truth. So how on earth are they going to even begin telling young people the truth? Young people are figuring out the truth for themselves, and they're going in the direction that they feel the truth lies. Yes. How to rein them and how to bring them back in, because they seem to have determined that the leadership that they want to follow is one of their own liking. Now, how do you turn that around? Because that's what they're doing. They're looking for leadership, but they're determining the sort of leadership that they want. Yes. You know, this brought to my mind, in the 70s, there was a movement in the US called the hippie movement and the flower children. What signified it, or what rubber stamped it greatly, was the protest against the Vietnam War. Now, a lot has been written about it, baby boomers. There's a whole host of things that have been written about it. But it pointed out a parting of ways between the youth of that time and the people who represented the age of their parents. They didn't quite see eye to eye about certain things. And when a country gets to a point where they have that situation, it's actually not a time for explaining. It's a time to actually pause, pay attention, and listen to what this group is actually saying. Yes. Don't be in a hurry to give them advice which they may not necessarily need. Listen to what they are telling you. Because in what they're saying lies the answer to the problems that they're telling you they have. But if you don't listen to them, how will you know what it is that ails them?
There you go. That's true. Can't argue with that.
We'll have a deeper analysis of what was happening in Sagana yesterday at 7 o'clock with MP Jeremiah Kioni. Keep it right here for that. It's 6:30. Let's take this quick break and see how the roads are looking like this morning. It's the first Friday of the week. It's Thursday, the 24th day of February 2022.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, not much this morning, actually, right now. It could be that the rains have scared folks away. So traffic hasn't really started this morning, except on the Thika Superhighway. We're seeing it quite heavy going towards the Utali Drift, and it's building up slowly, significantly towards the junction coming from Outer Ring, and looks like it will continue for some time. It's also building up on Langata Road, as usual, as we see that just around the Wilson Airport, though. Further than that, not too much of an issue. The bypasses are looking pretty good. Mombasa Road, there was a lot of drama last night. Folks in traffic for hours, and if it rains this morning, we're likely to see the same thing repeat itself. Going towards North Airport Road, also some traffic builds up. The Outer Ring is looking pretty good. The Eastern Bypass, unfortunately, is not. There is some outbound traffic there, and it's holding things up significantly. All right, that's what it looks like at about 6:30 on the nose. We'll look at it at about 7. Likely to have some rain today, so folks, if you want to get out, now is the time to do it, and then later on you can use the bypasses. But we'll take a look at it and talk to us where you might get stuck or things are looking sticky. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's talk there, or text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
27-7. So I've got two stories on page 12 of the Standard. I'm going to start with one which is from Laikipia. Medical experts have raised alarm over rising cases of boys born with undescended testes in Laikipia and Nyandarua counties. Most suffer from cryptorchidism, a condition in which a testicle has not moved into its proper position in the scrotum. Nyahururu County Hospital has reported 24 cases in the last 1 month alone. 24 cases in a single month in a single hospital. Dr. Muigai Mararo, a consultant urologist, said a child with undescended testes is usually as a result of premature birth, but there are other unknown reasons, and doctors are on the ground doing research, and they'll soon find out what has caused the rise. This is why we are pursuing other causes, because it's not normal for such a rise in 1 month. Dr. Mararo says undescended testes poses a risk of one developing cancer of the testes behind trauma. Experts say it could also lead to an infertility. Such a child should be treated before the age of 2. Speaking during a 3-day urological camp in Nyahururu, Dr. Mararo asked mothers to always palpate the testis area to establish its exact position whenever they are bathing their boys, as since this is a dangerous disease that can cause cancer. The chair of the Kenya Association of Urological Surgeons, Dr. Kitovu Murugu, said the camp was offering free surgical services to patients of prostate enlargement, prostate cancer, blockage of the urinary system, undescended testes, among many other urinary system ailments. It benefited more than 30 patients. But this is a case of Laikipia and Nyandarua counties having such a rise of this condition among young boys, and it's like a sudden spike. And there's a concern of what could be causing this. One of the known reasons is premature birth, but then there could be others, because premature births have not been recorded to such a high degree in the two counties.
It's interesting because I then wonder that later on, because we've also seen a proliferation of prostate cancer in men in the recent years. I wonder if that there would be a linkage then between that in later years and perhaps undescended testicles previously.
Yep.
I wonder if you did a background and went back, if you were able to see then that this happened when they were younger, and then they then were cancer patients later on in life. It would be interesting to see if that was a statistic that they were able to gather. But then specifically from these regions as well, then you want to also ask, is there something?
Yeah, what could be causing this?
What is also even more puzzling is that there isn't really a specific known cause for this.
Yeah.
So essentially, you'll be fishing and trying to determine
what causes it.
Yes, because when you read about it, you're given a whole array of things. A predisposition based on hormones, it could be hereditary, a raft of things. But that is, our hospital reports that the numbers have increased. I think that provides an opportunity to actually look and determine if, since it's in this area, what is it that has happened in this area that is unusual that may have brought this about?
Exactly. Or what exists, for example, in environment that doesn't in other places.
Yeah.
You know, like an example is when you see spots in different parts of the country where there's a lot of fluoride in the water, and then you see the browning of teeth. You know, is there something in environment that predisposes, boys to this?
Yeah.
Be very interesting to
know. This would be a good one to establish. The other story on the same page is high alert coming from the police. So it tells the story of last December when Agnes Lasit, a resident of Mwiki, made a stopover at Luthuli Avenue in Nairobi, and she wanted to buy a TV set, a smart TV set. After making inquiries in several shops, she found a dealer who promised to sell her a 43-inch Samsung set for 29,000 shillings. 43-inch smart TV, 29K. She was so happy she accepted the deal. She tried to pay via till number, but she was told, no. Just go to their M-Pesa shop, withdraw. Minutes later, Lasit was back and handed over the cash. The dealer beckoned two other colleagues behind the store who joined him at the counter. All along, Lasit thought that the two were being instructed to hand over the television set, but they told her that she'll be required to add another 6,000 to get the TV. She's given them the 29,000. And then they come and start talking. And then to her, now, by the way, that TV is 35K. Add 6,000. This led to a confrontation between her and the dealers for about half an hour. Luckily for her, officers from Kamukunji police station who were on evening patrol noticed the commotion, and they responded and saved Lasit from the jaws of cons. She was refunded her cash. And this is not the only an isolated case. Con artists have given Luthuli Avenue a bad name. Central Police Boss David Mburuka says the cases are not as many as before after the formation of a special team to monitor activities along Luthuli Avenue. Cases of electronics fraud have reduced because we have now a team on the ground working around the clock. He's urging victims to make formal complaints to the police. The victim has paid for his new TV set but opted out of the transaction, and a fraudster doubles the price immediately the payment for the item is made. At the time, the victim had given up on getting back his money until when the officers arrived. This is something that is consistently happening around Luthuli Avenue. So people have been told, be careful. Now, the unfortunate bit is that there are very many legit businesses on Luthuli Avenue.
Yeah.
Luthuli Avenue has been an electronic street for years. For years.
So then, unfortunately, those who are doing good business get swallowed up in this dragnet.
Oh, yes.
And the folks who are actually doing it and doing it right. But then if you hear things like this, or if you even go with what the story has been, are you going to take yourself there to buy a gadget?
You go and buy a gadget there and you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
No. Unfortunately.
Yeah. It
Giving
raises
a dog a bad name.
Oh, completely. City, what are you looking at?
Wow. Okay.
I'm actually looking at something very interesting in the Star. An algorithm listen to this, that can predict the point at which a patient may default from their care and treatment for HIV. There's a story being told about Moi University and their partners from US's Brown University having received 2 grants that amount to 523 million Kenyan shillings in total. And the people who lead the project, okay, the projects are led by 2 statisticians, Professor Anne Mwangi, that's Moi University, and Professor Joseph Hogan, a professor of public health and biostatistics at Brown. Now, the understanding behind this algorithm is that the physician who is responsible for the care and treatment will be able to use the results of the algorithm to see the point of care at which the patients are at risk. Meaning, something to actually help you predict what is a likely outcome. One of the biggest problems for people who have been in care for HIV has been precisely that default. Because ARVs are drugs you take for life. And once upon a time, just the number of drugs that you were supposed to take, it was like you were running a pharmacy on your own. So one of the things that people did was people got fatigued. And so the default rates rose. But that has changed significantly over time, because even just the number of drugs that people use, and now we even have injections that can be given in lieu of the drugs. So that whole landscape has changed. But however, people still default. And the problem with the defaulting is this. When you default, it means the certainty and the pattern of clarity with which the process had begun is interfered with. Now, once it's interfered with, starting again doesn't mean you just sort of like pick it up when you left off. No. It doesn't quite work that way. Because you will then have given the very viruses that are causing the problem an opportunity to readjust. Yes. And to reset. And so chances are they may need to change what you're being given. Yes, and that usually is not a very pleasant process. So if you have something that can help you more or less predict or give you...
what? Predict the behavior or predict?
Yes.
So it's going to predict the patient's likely behavior?
Yes.
That's really snazzy.
Yes.
And this algorithm is going to do what?
It will tell us whether you're likely to stop taking your medicine in a couple of days or not.
And why a patient would, the reasons why a patient may actually stop. Sounds snazzy.
Based on behavior.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Ask in a CT's field now, social scientists.
Yeah, those people who can predict your behavior. Based on this, I think that you can do this in the next
coming
days.
When he entered the room, was he looking left, right, or up? Up. Okay.
When he looks at me, did his nostrils flare in a particular manner? Those are the things you people do see.
Algorithms are far more complex than that, actually. They just don't take into account the facetious things we are saying. They actually take into account very, 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 very many things.
So what kind of data is likely to go into this algorithm so that it then starts being predictive?
Let me tell you, for instance, what happens when a patient comes to the hospital. Right. One of the things that, even if you've come, you can come for treatment, you can come for a checkup, but there is always a counseling session that you go through. It's called adherence counseling. Adherence counseling is meant to help you understand why you have to continuously take these boring drugs as often as you do, and to also educate you on the possible ramifications of your not doing so. That's a process that you follow. All right? Now, when you are before now the physician, the clinician, they ask you, okay, how regular have you been taking your drugs? And they will take tests. There'll be a blood sample taken. They will look at your weight. They will ask you how you're feeling.
So
they will
a
ask
pattern
you,
is formed.
Yes, every time you come, and all this is recorded.
Right.
Okay? Now, why the blood samples? The blood samples helps you understand the viral load. Okay? And also helps you understand if indeed there are other diseases that may be lacking. Blood has this ability of telling you a great deal more than you may even think. Now, all this is information. Now, this information, when put into this algorithm, is able to, should we say, depending on the question you ask it, it may be able to give you an indication of, because there'll be a pattern. People who've defaulted, what is it that we've seen them do before they actually default? People who don't default, what is it that we see in them? What's the regularity? For instance, people who have disclosed their status to their family, in many instances, are less likely to default because family knows, they'll encourage you, they'll keep you true to
There's some
taking the drug,
accountability.
yes. Somebody who hasn't outed his condition and informed his family and keeps it private, that person is likely to default because nobody will know whether they're taking their drugs or not. The only thing that will tell you is when you now come for a checkup and they realize that this person isn't looking well, there seems to be a problem here, there seems to be this. It is when you will know. I'm just giving a rough idea of how this thing works.
So when the algorithm predicts, then what? So let's say it was predicted that this one is likely to default.
Then you change how you approach these patients. You find out what it is that they're having difficulties with, because to default it means there's something that is untoward and something you're not handling well, and that's what's leading to it. So you start dealing with that particular issue before it gets to the point where the person is actually defaulting.
Okay.
It's like you look at the red flag and then you deal with
it.
Yes.
Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a quick break and then we'll be back shortly looking at more newspaper headlines. Someone is asking for the Western Kenya frequency. This one of Nairobi, 94.4 is what they've been tuned in when they're in Nairobi. Now they've gone to Western and they're wondering, okay, so around the Western region, Kisumu 102.5, there's Eldoret 96.7. Try any of those two. Let me just give you the other frequencies. In Mombasa, it's 87.9. In Nakuru, it's 96.0, 90.9 in Nyeri, and 97.7 in Malindi. Good morning. It's 6:45.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
So there's a law that's being proposed to limit gambling to 5-star hotels in Nairobi. Betting shops and related gambling businesses in Nairobi will henceforth be domiciled in high-end hotels only. If a betting and gaming bill before the county assembly is passed.
Which county assembly?
The Nairobi City County Vetting Lotteries and Gaming Amendment Bill 2021, which has passed its second reading, will restrict the businesses to 5-star hotels with casinos as rated by the Tourism Regulatory Authority. The bill seeks to amend the act that took effect last May. Contravening the regulations will attract a fine of 5 million shillings or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years or both. The operating hours for such establishments will also be restricted only to non-productive hours, a departure from the current practice. This will discourage, so they think, gambling addicts, especially the young who waste a lot of time at the establishments, says South BMCA, MCR, Waithera Shege, who proposed or who sponsored the bill. Ms. Shege lamented the amount of time Kenyans spent gambling. A 2017 Geopoll survey ranked Kenya as having the highest number of young people engaging in gambling in where? Sub-Saharan Africa.
In gambling.
Okay. The report estimated that 76% of Kenyans were engaging in betting, a majority of them youth aged between 17 and 35. All licensed betting lotteries and gaming premises and online gaming shall only operate between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. So, all right. Don't let them gamble during the day, but let them gamble at night. A person who contravenes this provision will be liable upon conviction to a fine of 10 million shillings or 4 years imprisonment or both. The time restriction will include mobile betting with firms required to operate after working hours and adopt cashless transactions so as to protect children from participating in such activities. According to Ms. Shege, going cashless will mean that school children cannot register to have mobile gaming accounts as they lack identification cards.
Wait, what is she seeking to control here? Is she seeking to control betting?
A flurry of things.
Okay, so betting is most directly you're predicting an outcome.
Yes.
And then you place.
Yes,
right?
because she has seen that.
Gambling is where you just go in there and you're.
Karata.
Roll the dice.
Yeah.
Right? You are hoping. Well, it's still also you're trying to predict some outcome.
Making a gamble.
So are we talking about the physical gambling where you go and you find the slot machines and all? that
In
is
the
being
casino.
in the casino that is being restricted? Are we also talking about betting?
Everything. This is what she has said.
So even horse races shall only happen after 8 p.m.
Yes, between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. And it's going to, so now what you're going to do, according to her, is that you preclude younger children from getting in on this because, they don't have an identity card, so they can't get on their phone and do the betting. I thought that's going to stop anybody. But so they're saying, even if you bet, there have to be, she's saying that she's proposing controls by the operators.
Okay.
So that you cannot get into these transactions before 8 p.m.
Okay.
and after 6 a.m.
Okay.
So she's going to include, in this, they're including the mobile operators as well.
It would be interesting to actually get the details of that proposal.
And then if you're going to walk into a casino, for example, to do now the slot machines and all these wonderful things, that you cannot do that except it's a five-star high-end hoity-toity joint. Other than that, you won't be able to just walk into your run-of-the-mill place, establishment.
So that place where City went and got
that place where he was doing the thing for 20
out.
bob. Sorry, City. You can't do it anymore, man. If you were planning that for this weekend.
By the way.
Oh, it's Nairobi only for now.
By
So
the
that
way,
place where you went that day.
Well, those things are even removed by Matiang'i in a national operation.
But by the way, these guys are going to be in court for a very long time.
Faster than you can say Jack Robinson.
Yes.
Yes.
This industry has been in the limelight for quite some time now. Okay. Now, do you imagine that people who conduct this business in the places where they conduct the business are suddenly just going to sit back and let you
And say, there's another bill, sure.
Yeah, so let's shut down and look for a 5-star hotel in which to set up our business. No, they'll take you to court.
Let me tell you something.
Voila.
You know the structure of our infrastructure? Infrastructure
right? For what exactly?
For roads specifically.
Okay.
Wachana airports and
roads.
Yes.
So,
and parking for ships. Infrastructure.
It's called berthing.
Parking for ships.
Yeah. You got it right.
It's
The parking is called berthing, yes.
It starts from the ministry, right? And then there is a Kenya Roads Board. And then under the Kenya Roads Board, we have the three agencies. Kenha, Kura, Kera. People complain. Kenya Roads Board has now wait, what?
Excuse me?
People are making noise. The Kenya Roads Board is set to start auditing the road developed and maintained by agencies that fall under it, as it seeks to establish if they are giving Kenyans value for money.
Really?
Oh, wow.
The board said on Tuesday, that they are starting a search for civil engineering consultancy firms that will undertake technical and performance audits on Kenya Urban Roads Authority and the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, KERA. KRB had earlier invited applications from consultants to audit roadworks by Kenha and the Kenya Wildlife Service. The board disburses funds collected through the road maintenance levy to the road agencies for the maintenance and development of various roads. This is maintained by motorists who pay 18 bob for every litre of petrol and diesel that they purchase. The technical and performance audits will be carried out to enable Kenya Roads Board to assess implementation of KRB-funded urban roads programs by Kura, said the board in tender documents for the Kura audits, in particular to ensure that roadworks for maintenance, rehabilitation and development of urban roads are delivered with high-quality standards. It has almost similar objectives for the consultants who will be auditing roadworks by the other road agencies. One such case has been Ngong Road section between the junction and Karen that has been poorly done, and marked lanes and lack of signage that are causing accidents, some of them fatal. The main objectives of the technical and performance audits are to independently verify whether the roadworks under the road maintenance levy are planned, designed and constructed in accordance with the relevant civil works contracts, standards and specifications, KRB guidelines, and good international engineering and management practice. See, they just ask people.
We can tell you.
So they want to give money to a consultant, then the consultant will now go on the ground and to establish whether Kura and Kera are doing a good job.
I would be interested as to what spurred on this sudden desire to do this.
I think it's a regular thing that they do. You know,
okay.
as they part of their job is as they disburse the road maintenance levy funds.
Yeah.
They also want to just tick a box there and show we have audited and we have found from a third party that the job being done by our agencies is being done properly.
You reckon that if they find out that things had actually gone south with this money, for example, the little issue of Gong Road that we discussed yesterday, do you think if they've gone and done this audit and they find out that things had gone a little bit crazy, do you think they would tell us in the manner in which they've announced that they're going to go ahead and do this audit?
I don't know. I don't even know whether they'll tell us who the successful consultant is going to be.
So
because that will be the most important
It's wishful
bit.
thinking that they would give us the
that consultant
details
is
of the
actually
report.
announced nationally so that we know, consultant, you're on the ground. When are you coming to ask us to tell you?
Consultants are good people.
What we think.
And they're useful.
Yeah.
But my understanding of consultants, especially when it comes to government institutions, I have to look at that whole process with a slanted perspective. And why? I'm reminded of Kenya Ports Authority when it had Kenya Ports Authority, East African Ports Authority, and then there was cargo handling. Two separate entities, but working in the same sphere. I remember consultants were hired to try and determine whether it was best to
merge the two,
yes,
or to keep them separate.
Precisely.
Right.
Many hundreds of millions. We hadn't got into billions those days of Kenyan shillings. They decided they should merge them. A few years down the line, new board, new MD, decided to get consultants to find out if they could actually separate the two again. And while we were at it, Kenya Post and Telecommunications went through a similar thing. There was Posta, there was Telecoms.
Yes.
Again, consultants were hired to try and see if it was better to either keep these things separate or to bring them together. So the consultant said to bring them together. Telecom disappeared. It was called like Telecoms. Then a few years later, somebody else was hired as a consultant to
tell
again
us
whether they should separate these two
or bring them together.
Okay. So let's wait and see this one.
The
Kenya Roads Board is looking for a consultant
to come and
tell
tell
them
us
whether Kura is
doing the work
Doing a good job.
or not.
See, we can be 47 million collective consultants.
Yes. And all this information that's available is not useful, but bring a consultant to tell us whether the roads
are working based on the funds that you've released.
And then
to
after
them.
this consultant has gone and told us, believe me, another consultant will be found to
To
tell
now
us.
decipher what this consultant
So now,
has come up
now
with.
what should we do after we've been told this by this other consultant?
Perfectly, and which way forward.
Will they come and tell us now what the consultant has then said?
Hey, so keeping our children safe on the internet.
Commemorating a Safer Internet Day this February, and then looking at what then can be done to make sure that as we ply the streets of the internet, that children are safe from threats and vulnerabilities. Cyber Soldiers then was come about by the Communications Authority of Kenya. It's a game that you can play to learn about the threats that they will face on the internet as children, young and old. You then can learn how to recognize threats on the internet and, more importantly, how to fight them. The objective of the game is to learn about how to deal with these online threats. So, parents and children alike can access the game and online safety tips, and you can visit the authority's website on www.ca.go.ke and learn how to be kept safe. Things like internet addiction, cyberbullying, etc., etc., etc.
And we'll keep telling you about internet addiction today and how we can keep our children safe and the information that you need to know. Also, if you come across a bully online who is terrorizing your young one, how do you deal with that? Whom do you report to? We'll tell you about the various institutions that deal with such matters and that have also agreed to work with the Communications Authority to handle such cases. Just go to www.ca.go.ke, select campaigns, and then click on the tab either Cyber Soldiers or Child Online Protection. Keep it right here for more conversations. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Morning, this is Peter Dennis Settle. President Uhuru Kenyatta is next week expected to continue with a series of political campaigns in the Mount Kenya region after formally announcing his support for ODM leader Raila Odinga as president and urging Mount Kenya residents to follow suit. At the event, President Kenyatta listed some of the projects his government achieved in the Mount Kenya region as well as across the country, saying that the projects achieved by the Jubilee government exceed all those done by previous governments. The president cited the employment of 1.3 million Kenyans through the Ajira program, saying that among those people, 588,000 are from Mount Kenya. He added that out of the 50,000 security officers, 28,000 are from Mount Kenya. The details on the government projects were provided by Director of Presidential Service Unit Andrew Wakahiu, who said that 2,600 kilometers of road have been paved so far under President Kenyatta's administration, where 1,000 kilometers were built between 2013 to 2017. Other projects Uhuru said he has implemented is water connectivity to homes from 400,000 households to 600,000 homes. He added that the Jubilee government successfully distributed 7.4 billion shillings over a 9-year period to disadvantaged groups in the community. Now, various leaders continue to express themselves following President Uhuru Kenyatta's decision to name ODM leader Raila Odinga as his preferred successor when he leaves office. At a meeting held at Sagana State Lodge, President Uhuru Kenyatta said his deputy still needed time to learn a number of things about leadership before being allowed to lead the country, accusing him of corruption. Kenya Kwanza leaders led by Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula called the Sagana 3 meeting tribal, reminding the president that he was elected by all Kenyans. He also demanded that Kenyans are allowed to elect their leaders.
Mr. President, you need better advice. That Kenyans feel uneasy retreating into a corner somewhere to talk politics of tribe or region, because you are elected by the whole of Kenya. I have told you before that you have only one vote as President Uhuru Kenyatta. Give Kenyans an opportunity to decide who will succeed you.
Kabuchai MP Majimba Kalasinga also criticized the president, raising questions as to whether the president was previously unaware of his deputy's lack of leadership skills when he decided to work with him. Meanwhile, Kabinga Wadhayu praised President Uhuru Kenyatta's speech, saying the president had done well to inform Mount Kenya residents about the cause of the dispute with his deputy. Kabinga added that the leaders present would support Uhuru and fulfill his dream of seeing Raila occupy the house on the hill. Now, Deputy President William Ruto has finally been cleared by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to visit the United States and the United Kingdom. Ruto is expected to begin a 12-day tour of the U.S. from Sunday this week. It is reported that the visit will involve meetings with senior government officials, international policymakers, as well as Kenyans living in the U.K. and the United States of America. Ruto and his entourage will attend the Africa Conference on Politics and Development at the University of Georgia on March 2nd. The session will be chaired by Karen Bass, chair of the United States Committee on Foreign Affairs and Human Rights. On March 4th, he will hold a meeting with Kenyans living in the United States at Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Washington before traveling to the UK. It will be noted that Ruto's visit to the United States and the United Kingdom will be political and the first since 2018, where he visited Italy, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, Uganda, as well as Zanzibar. However, unlike his scheduled tours, the previous visits to the diaspora were official. Foreign Affairs PS Mashari Kamau has confirmed that everything is fine for Ruto and his delegation to visit the US. In August last year, Ruto was blocked from traveling to Uganda without the approval of the head of public service. Also in December 2019, Ruto's visit to Canada and the United States was abruptly suspended. A spokesperson for the Office of the Deputy President said the suspension was due to a number of official engagements. And transport was temporarily disrupted at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport after a plane stalled at the runway. A statement from the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority boss, George Kibe, indicated that the incident affected takeoff and landing of aircrafts. Some planes had to be diverted to Mombasa International Airport and Dar es Salaam International Airport. In addition, passengers were required to follow up with their airlines to get a new schedule. Transport has since been restored to normalcy. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and it looks like it's building up in certain parts of the city today. We're looking at Jogo Road already starting to pile up quite some. Lunga Lunga is doing that thing again this morning in and outbound traffic, and it's heading out towards Likoni. As you get onto that interchange and then connect to the southern bypass, not too bad. It's looking pretty good right now. Langata Road getting into the city, that did not start early, but like magic, at 7 o'clock, something happens and then gets all twisty, and we see so much traffic there right now, heading onto Raila Odinga Way and then out towards Ngong Road. That has already started to build up significantly. Thika Superhighway did its thing quite early, and now we see that it has spread much further down past the drift and then going out into the direction past the junction at Outer Ring, heading out towards Clayworks. That is going to be a bit messy this morning. The impending rains means that things are going to slow down just a little bit in traffic this morning. Limu Road in and outbound traffic, that still continues. Westlands, Ring Road Westlands, also looking at the eastern part of the city as well now, coming out to Outer Ring through to Rabai and then moving further north towards Juja Road. Lots of traffic, and it has started early. Let's take a look at things in about half hour and see what it does. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. Let's keep things moving this Thursday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your...
Good morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, on the 24th day of February 2022. We will be talking about Mount Kenya and Jubilee shortly, and the MP for Daragwa, Jeremiah Kioni, joins us in the studio. Before we welcome him and introduce him, let's hear the day's proverb. CT?
Yes, this is a proverb from Tunisia. Yeah. The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
Mm-hmm.
What are you saying, CT?
What I think you're asking me is, what do I think this proverb is suggesting?
Yes. There's a reason why you picked this particular proverb, because of your own interpretation of this proverb. So what was it?
It struck me as odd because, and remember at the beginning of the show, I said this is an old proverb. Baldness, having no hair, is currently fashionable. And Ndu pointed out, yes, it's come back. There's a time it was very fashionable for women not to have any hair on their head. Then it was fashionable to have a lot of hair on their head. And now it's also fashionable not to have hair. So the understanding is somebody who has the ability to be happy and to take pride in something that they don't necessarily have, but someone else does. Yes. Being happy for someone else's gain. Yes. That's what struck me about it.
Right.
Is it being happy for someone else's gain, or is it claiming someone else's gain as your own?
Good. Now we've expanded the conversation.
And that's what because the circumstances under which you lost your hair could be very many. And also looking at the times when, a woman's hair was pride, your crown kind of thing. And if for whatever circumstances you lost your own, then you had the opportunity to glory and or live vicariously through somebody else's hair.
Yes. The word here is boasts. Let me explain to you why. For me, it was pertinent. I come from a community where somebody will introduce themselves not as I am so-and-so, but I am so-and-so's brother.
I am son of so-and-so.
Yes. And they will tell you, when they ask you, do you know who I am? And you say, not particularly. Then they also tell you, I am so-and-so's brother, or I'm so-and-so's relative. I'm associated with so-and-so. So that so-and-so is the heavyweight that they refer themselves, they associate themselves with. Now, when it comes to things that people take pride in, and do as very eloquently put it across, Yes, that was my thinking.
We have very good hair in our family. Have you seen my sister?
I was going to say, have you seen my... I thought you were going to say, have you seen my hair? I was already looking at your head.
Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, thank you very much for joining us. Good morning.
Morning to you, and thank you for having me.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation on the hot seat again.
Asante sana. Nashukuru kuwa hapa.
Speaking about communities and boasting and...
I don't know what you can boast about.
Boasting about with someone else's hair. So yesterday, before yesterday, a couple of weeks now, the president has been saying, you know what, let's work from the office. Let's not work atop vehicles. Very soon it will be political season. And when political season comes, you will all know. Because I'll now come and start talking politics. He appears to have gone to his backyard to launch his political season. Yesterday's meeting at Sagana, he spoke, and the headlines today are very, very all saying the same thing. He spoke and said, my preferred successor is Raila Odinga. I have serious issues with my deputy.
Back in 2018, I think it was 2018, no, I think 2017. Yes, 2017. Towards the end of 2017, we were called to State House, all members of Parliament, on Jubilee ticket. And I think also from those parties that were also friendly to Jubilee or worked with Jubilee, I believe Kanu was part of it. And the president told us that his reason for calling us that early was so that we can agree on one or two things. One is that we are happy we've now been given the mandate to run the affairs of the country for the coming 5 years, but also to agree that we go to work until the 5th year of the term, when he will then go back and do campaigns and that time he actually said he would do campaigns for William Ruto. But he said between now and then, can we all go to work and deliver on what we have promised Kenyans? And that's what he's been doing. He's been working. I remember towards the end of last year, just before Christmas, again, a few of us went to State House. Of course, you can never walk to State House. You can only be allowed into State House. But we insisted and he allowed us there. And we were from the mountain and we told him, we asked him, actually we were telling him the mountain is very, we are not happy with what we are getting and what we are hearing. We want you to come and talk to the people. And again he said, I have a lot of work to finish. That table has a lot of work. I'm not coming to talk until I'm done. So he's been very, very clear. And I'm sure he must have had a program. Because last year he spoke to us in a manner, and he also asked us, why are you calling me out? I'm not looking for votes. I got my votes. I am delivering on what I promised. And I'm going to do it until I get these projects to a level where now I think we can be able to think of transition. And that time has come. We were there. We had this bill that was very, I don't think it was contentious or controversial, but it brought a lot of tension or a lot of heat in Parliament, where we were fighting with bottles of water and others were biting our fingers. Some were strangling us. I was strangled by a member of Parliament for one of the constituencies in the Rift Valley. But I survived the strangling.
Apparently.
Yes, and so after that, he called us again to State House. And mainly it was to get the Senate to understand what the bill was about. And it is that time again he said, that's when he actually indicated he now thinks the time is ripe for him to come out and tell people what he has done. So the politics of yesterday, or his kind of politics, is which is what you expect every other leader to do, is to come out and say, mulinipatia nafasi nifanye kazi ya aina fulani. Nilikuwa nimeuliza nifanye hii. This is what I had promised to do. I have done this, I have not done that, and I want to say thank you for that opportunity. And in his tradition, Sagana has become a place where he calls us from Mount Kenya region, and he has done it now. And he actually had promised after when we had the BBI issue, he promised he would call us again. So yesterday was for him to give us his scorecard and to show what has he done, how far are we, what does he think we should do going forward, because the projects will not be all complete. There are many roads that will need to be completed, many industrial projects. And ideally, in the process of that, of course, you want to tell us whom do you want to entrust, who do you think can carry on with what you are doing. And we are in the campaign season. We have two people in the ambao wako mbele ya wale wengine by far. So he indicated his preference, but of course, in indicating his preference, we also wanted to know why the fallout.
What's the fallout?
Why the fallout?
One of the things that was expected of the president yesterday, and maybe he had, indirectly promised. In fact, when he stood to speak, and he said, I know I had expected only 5,000 people, and I'm seeing 20,000 people. I think people are expecting me to say something. Even he knew. The expectation was, you are coming to tell us, why is it that you fell out with your deputy? Do you think he sufficiently gave the reasons, outlined the reasons of the fallout between him and his deputy, William Ruto?
One of the amazing things about the visit yesterday is that we had three groups of people. We had those who had been invited with a card, an invitation card. And then there was a small group that seems to have been sent from somewhere, perhaps in the neighborhood, by somebody who thought it was necessary to send his own visitors. To somebody else's function. But then amazingly, there was another huge crowd of people who keep streaming from very far distances. And they completely overwhelmed the security system. I mean,
where did they come from?
So they were from all over.
Arriving
that was the most amazing.
In public transport.
Yes, and you could see where they have kept the vehicles, because the vehicles were being kept very far. You had to walk almost 3 kilometers to the venue. And people walked, and they walked. They got to the security gates of the Sagana Lodge, and they pushed their way in. Of course, the
Where
police
were they
officers.
from, Weshimwa? I mean,
They were
not from all over.
They
What
were
are we
from all
talking
over.
about
I can
here?
tell you they were from all over, because you cannot say that those vehicles were from that neighborhood. The matatus, the private vehicles. And I am saying it was amazing. And there was no violence, not in a manner the way you'd fear. And these guys are going to cause chaos. And I would wait to hear what was happening, because there must be intelligence somewhere.
They must have been organized by someone. I mean,
let me tell you, because from my own
constituency,
constituency, I was to invite only 10. But there were more than the 10 I invited from my own constituency. I have the list of 10, and I'd gone beyond the list to do a Nissan, so I brought 14. But there were more than 28 inside there from my own constituency. And I could see them. Gishohi unafanya nini hapa? Hapana mimi nimekuja. And so I don't want to say that somebody organized. There is a group that was organized that was meant to cause chaos. But the bigger population were people who were saying Ebu Twende. Is there was take it. There was a lot of anxiety.
So did he respond?
And let me tell you what was amazing. We, even as leaders, we started wondering, what are we going to do? 20,000, 5,000 to 20,000, and everywhere was swamped with people. But people, of course, the small team thought they would be able to bring some chaos, but eventually they joined in everybody else, and that's the joy about it. And he was also able, there is an issue of reimbursing transport.
Yep.
I am telling you, that is one of the nightmares for any leader. I don't know how others handled it in their own constituencies or their own areas, but I called those I had been told to invite. Told them, mimi, gari ni pesa gapi, nitawalipa. Nendeni mkitafuta chakula kwa barabara. Wachaneni na hii maneno ya hapa, hawa watu ni wengi sana. And that's, eventually everybody, I don't know what happened because I had left. But what is amazing about that is, unlike what we were fearing at the beginning, it didn't end up that way.
What were you fearing?
Chaos. When you have 20,000 people in your function and you had invited 5,000, naturally,
there's a possibility of even them coming to
naturally, you'd it's only a miracle.
You'd be apprehensive.
Yes, and all of us were. All of us, not just the president. I could even tell the president was apprehensive. But all of us were. So it was, first of all, to deal with that. And then to deliver the message that you had all along. And every time you go to an audience that is not what you had been promised, you have to reorganize your mind.
Yes.
And I must admire, I admired the way they organized their minds, and then he delivered.
He did it.
Let me tell you, he did, because one of the things is that we wanted to hear the fallout. Why the fallout? Because, and I keep, of course, some of us who have been there, we have had our own time to understand some of these things. But why the fallout? And you could tell one of the reasons of the fallout is, why wouldn't you wait for us to deliver on the promises we promised Kenyans? Why go campaigning around? But the greatest of all is, why go lying to the mountain?
What was
Why
the lie?
tell-
Washima? According to what now he said
Why
yesterday, what was the
tell
lie?
The lie is that you have done the mounting. He's been, there is what we report and what goes on. He has, he's gone round the whole of our area, depicting the president as a very dishonest person. Actually, he has, in his own words, he's called him a conman. And told us that your area has been completely neglected. He has taken all the money to the rake. Immediately there was a handshake. Every other project is being done in Nyanza province, and Raila took all the projects that were meant to be done in our areas. I mean, those are, it's not just a lie to us. It's a lie to get the country unstable. When you come and tell us, ile ilikuwa ikuje kwenyu, imeenda kwa hawa. Knowing our history of, we have not been very kind to one another. And then a leader at that level comes to pour mafuta kwa hiyo. I want to tell you, I am also a very disappointed person. You don't assume such offices and carry that kind of a tongue around. And of course, he has also been, how did they come together 2013? 2013, I was part of the little conversations that happened. And one of the reasons, and I remember the president himself asking me, Kioni, what do you think about this region? Said, you will need this region for many reasons.
Which region?
Rift Valley.
The Rift Valley.
And actually, the Karijin, let me now go to that level. You will need the Karijin in your formation for the reasons we fought with them. We have a lot of our Kikuyus within them, within the Karijin community in Rift Valley. For us to be able to give those some semblance of forward, some hope, you will need to work with these people. You are the one who worked with them 2002. So you are the best person to work with them. Then we had, that time we were talking, ICC had not happened in the manner that it happened. So he told me, and he actually stood up and just shook my hand and said, like, you have it. You've gotten it.
You get me. You understand.
So coming from there is a healing that we was looking forward to.
So it was important. It was a convenience.
It was a very important gesture to get the community to move together, and it required the sacrifice of both. Because remember, he is injured. He is in ICC because of the same difficulties that we had. You're also in ICC because of the same difficulties, and we were in opposing camps. So the issue of working together was a message to Kenyans, let's leave these things behind and move on. But when you then come to my backyard when we have agreed to move on, and you start. Let me tell you, the animosity towards Uhuru from Mount Kenya, you will not know it unless you come from that region. The
and this is what you were feeling.
And that was very important for us as a community, for him to come and get it right.
This is what you went to alert him about last year.
Yes.
You told him, look,
Yes.
the words that are being spread in the region and what our people are feeling and what our people are reacting to is this. And he told you, give me time.
Yes, I have my projects to
I
finish.
have my project.
Yes, and
Do you think
he also said politics is a marathon na politics pia ni hesabu.
Hesabu ya pesa au hesabu ya numbers?
Hapa wewe jaza hiyo, lakini nisema politics pia ni hesabu.
Okay.
Hiyo ilikuwa hesabu ya numbers.
Okay.
But pia hesabu ya pesa, because what was he doing yesterday? He was enumerating the projects that have been done in our area and the hesabus that have gone into funding those projects. And I can tell you, you will say many things. And it was clear in his mind. I promised these people, we have been promised before, let me come to them after I have done something.
That's what I'm coming to that question, and I think you are not responding to it yet.
All right. Not yet. Huh?
These people made you seek out the president and tell him, Mr. President, you need to address this concern. He spoke yesterday. Do you think he addressed the concerns of the youth in Mount Kenya, in Daragwa and the other constituencies of Mount Kenya, who have gotten to a point where they think that the president betrayed them, the president is somebody who cannot keep a promise, the president has not delivered?
He did. And this is our experience also in the region. And he said it exactly the way I would have put it also. We have a generation of people at the ages of 25 even to 30. In fact, when I was thinking about it from yesterday, you can go back to people who are born from 1998, maybe even 1997. And all the way to where we are. And those are the people in the maybe early 30s or in the 20s. And they form a big chunk of our population. They are the people you are going to address quite often if you drive along the road, because they are the ones always on the move, looking for opportunities to do something. And they know the story, the only story you are telling them. Wewe ambao umekuja kuwaongelesha. We have not had an opportunity for them to go through the history of this country. They do not know. They don't know where we came from. They don't know what we have gone through. And he actually challenged us as leaders. Tell them the truth. We have not delivered on their promises. But why is it that we have not delivered on their promises yet? It's because we are coming from somewhere and we need time to start addressing, or we need time for the country to start providing for what they want. And that's the bit. We are talking about employment. The country needs to grow. We need the economy to stabilize, to grow, create jobs, and we need it to take off. And I can tell you, if we don't allow ourselves to move into that phase, we are going to get a very difficult generation, because they will not. It is what has been the foundation that has been laid now. It is a foundation that should now be able to provide for what will be useful to them in terms of opportunities, in terms of enabling them, like the young man who came there, you know, to demonstrate his ability to make these USBs. I came across another young man in my own constituency who is stationed somewhere at Roiro, and he's the one making these ATM milking machines. And, you know, kijana mdogo, I bought one from him and gave it out to somebody. But I was impressed. He comes from a place I called it's actually Daragwa, Kiadogoro. And he's straight from the university. He's making those ATM machines.
Mheshimiwa, what does this signify now? You mean, all of these things were said yesterday. There was an expectation from the president on which direction he was going. Many would say that up until then, they weren't really sure what is he going to say. He said these things. He was very clear about his position. What does this mean now going forward? In the next 6 months before we get to this election, what does this mean?
Many things, including the fact that many of us will be sent home if you are not careful with the political turbulences that are on the way. And you have to, you see, between now and the we have now and the 9th, I think, of March, where you need to have cleared your membership, maybe clearing your party, you have paid your nomination fees and the rest. There is the 26th of March, which also means that you are either in this party or the other party. If you move to this other party, then you're likely to lose your membership in parliament and the rest, or membership in your county assembly, some things. But it also means that pale serikali ni, what it means to me is this. You are pushing me to say some of the things that are too deep, but we are here to say something deeper. It means that this thing between Raila and William Samoei Ruto is a very tricky game for those of us in it now, because the numbers that Raila needs are very few, given what we know from 2007, 2013, and 2017. He already has the numbers. By the way, because we have, you see, tunikwambia siasa ni hesabu na hiyo maneno marathon. Raila only needs 960,000 votes from Mount Kenya. And he needs to keep his block as it has been.
You seem to be very clear about that specific number.
Yes. Well, 900,000, it's 1 million votes. What it also means is that those of us then from Mount Kenya must make up their minds whether you want to be in the opposition or in government. So it is not a question of where are we going. Is it now a question of where do you want to be?
So you're saying the way we are going is clear from where you are?
It's done. Let me tell you, it's done. His statement got 1 million votes out of 6 million. You can take the 4 million to the other side, but he must have gotten 1 million votes. All that Raila needs to do is to keep his block, his traditional block. And I'll tell you how he kept it yesterday. And these are some of the facts in this country. And those of us who are Ladiro in politics and are honest about them will tell you. We have communities in this country that say it openly and they tell us on the floor. Turukaruke tu, lakini ujue mimi, kwangu lazima tuwe kwa serikali. They say it. And they have been telling us, can you guys make up your mind? We want to go where the government will be. Because I need water in my area. We will need food, relief food. We need medicine brought by, we need some shoppers to come and help us when difficulties come. It is only the government that can do that. So what business do I have leading my people into the opposition? So they were waiting more than perhaps Mount Kenya to know where is the government going. So there's quite a number of pockets in this country that also decided yesterday. Hapo ndio tunaenda. So meaning, it made it very easy for Raila. It's now very difficult for us in Mount Kenya. Because we must get our people out of the opposition.
Right now they're in the opposition.
They are in the opposition.
Let's talk about this right after this break, because now we've gotten to the crux of the matter. It is 26 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Jeremiah Kioni, the Ndarago MP, is with us in the studio. We are deconstructing and trying to understand what exactly happened in the Sagana 3 meeting yesterday, where the president was addressing the mountain and the nation by extension.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother.
You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi, a chance of rain. Highs of 24 and lows of 15 today. Mostly cloudy at 15 in Nakuru. Highs of 24. 22 will be high in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy at 14. It'll come down to lows of 13. Eldoret, sunny at 14. Highs of 23 and lows of 13. And looking into Mombasa, it's sunny at 26, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31, in Malindi, mostly cloudy conditions at 28. 21 and mostly cloudy at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega, it's mostly cloudy at 18. It'll rise to highs of 27 and lows of 15. It's sunny at 24 in Kampala, highs of 27 and lows of 20, while it's raining in Dar es Salaam at 26. It'll go to highs of 30. Sunny and 16 in Johannesburg. 27 will be the high and lows of 15, while in Lagos it's mostly clear at 27. We'll see a warm high of 34 and lows of 26. It's clear at 24 in Kinshasa. Chance of rain here later. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 24. Building up and quite heavily so. We're looking at traffic on Gong Road this morning. Raila Odinga Way is heading towards that with quite a lot of traffic this morning. Jogger Road also continues, and Uhuru Highway taking that hit, and it started quite early. We're seeing in and outbound traffic, but also heading towards Westlands with quite a lot of it today. CBD is a mishmash of everything, and the thicker superhighway situation is getting chunkier by the minute. We're going all the way past that outer ring junction, guys, and we're also seeing in and outbound traffic. Interestingly enough, the in and outbound traffic is all inbound because we're looking at more than 4 lanes on Kambu Road so far. In and outbound traffic on Limuru Road as well, and the whole of Parklands is chock-a-blocked. If we look into Westlands, Ring Road Westlands, bumper to bumper, very, very slow. Red Hill Link Road probably will be an option to get out of that mess coming off James Gishuru. Use that to get out of it. We see traffic coming out as far as Lower Kabete this morning and moving very, very slowly. Let's circle back in about half an hour and see what it looks like. We're looking at North Airport Road in and outbound traffic as well. The rains have not helped. If you see a stagnant body of water, please do not go in. Construction is making it difficult to get through with the rains. Let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
This is 94. This conversation, the Situation Room. Eric Latiff, CT Muga Ndu Okoh, and Jeremiah Kioni, the Ndaragwa MP, looking at Sagana 3 and what happened. So yes, the president has told us this before, actually, in a public rally where he said, Siasa is a marathon. Don't run. President has told you Siasa is a marathon and hesabu. And then you told us that looking at the previous 2 elections, if Raila could consolidate his solid base, he only needed about 980,000 votes from Mount Kenya region. And you've told us that with the president's speech yesterday, Raila got 1 million votes just from that speech. So you're saying that Raila, in your books, is the next president?
Actually, yes. Raila is the president come 10th of August 2022. You will be talking about Baba the Fifth. I think that is there. And I say this not with any amount of just thumping or anything like that. It's really the reality and something that I said at Sagana 2 days before the Sagana at Kirinyaga. That was my constituency 2 days before Sagana. And I was telling the people of Sagana, it's really you to choose whether you want to be in government or in opposition. And I gave them the figures. Whatever formation Raila has used since 2007, he has always scored 44%. What he's been looking for is 6% plus 1. 6% of Gema votes is 960,000. 6% plus 1 is 960,000. And even before Sagana, I dare say that that was already available for him. The couple of meetings and the people we are talking to. So the work that we have to do is to ensure that we have fewer of our members of parliament
in the opposition. Then you said,
and that is what the president has to do, and he has also a responsibility to the community. He's a president of this republic, but he comes from a given community, and he has a responsibility to the community to ensure that he does not leave us in the opposition. We have been in the opposition before. It is not the best of places to watch politics from or to help. It's a miserable place to be.
So by saying that Mount Kenya currently is in the opposition, you're saying that Ruto has captured the region.
I will say, I'm not saying that. Let me take that back. Mount Kenya is not in the opposition. But if we do not work hard, many of the members of parliament who seem to have gone ahead of others, because for 4.5 years they've been campaigning, while others have been working. Those who've been campaigning for 4.5 years, majority of them are in UDA, which will form the opposition in the next government. And it is now upon us, and this is what the president said. If those who are already in offices have decided not to tell you the truth, can others rise up, come and take over? That invitation was made also yesterday at Sagana. And I remember telling some young group of leaders meeting somewhere within a hotel in Nairobi last week. They kept talking about aspirants, and I asked them, which is this other room that has aspirants? I want to walk in there and bring them so that you can see them. If there is no other room, the aspirants are you. We are looking upon you to wake up, take up those positions. And I tell you, you will see names you have never heard of in Mount Kenya. There are those areas that, of course, stick with their preferred old candidates who have taken position. But we will certainly have a few of our own in opposition. But I want to tell you that we have work to do between now and May and June to ensure that people heed what the president said. We will turn it around. And eventually we'll be part of the government that will be formed by the Azimio.
Let me take you a couple of steps back, Mheshimiwa. You said that Raila had attained and maintained this 44%, 2007, 2013, 2017. And he needed the 6% to have won in those years, right? So are you essentially saying that it is this particular group of people or this area that denied Raila Odinga presidency in the previous years?
You know, this is a block that has never quite warmed up to Raila. And this is a historical fact. They have never warmed up to the Raila family. We can debate about it. I have looked at why, and I've listened to many people. And it is not just because there was anything between the two communities. Of course, there was. But it's because also in the design of many, it was better that way. That we were not able to move together. Let me answer it this way. With Raila and Uhuru coming together, sitting together and having these formations, going forward, if that working relationship is able to hold for like 30, 40 years, my good friend Musalia and Kalonzo and Wetagura, the senator, will be permanently knocking that door to be allowed into the room like you allowed me in Studio 1 of SpiceFM this morning.
So why
because these two blocks, really, politics of this country revolves around the two blocks. And you see, what did William do in the last 4 years? Other than saying that Uhuru has abandoned you, he has taken everything to Nyanza, everything, he had tried to push the narrative of kitendawili, mchawi, a person who is untrustworthy, more than it has ever been done to our community. He has come, munataka huyu kitendawili. So he's trying to use the same old narrative to create a wedge between Kikuyus and Luos, because it is only then that he can become president. If that gap is breached, if we are able to cement it, and I can tell you, I am part of the Kikuyu Council of Elders team that went to border way ahead of everybody else. And we sat together, we had those cultural ceremonies to say, what is this we've been quarreling about? And we went through the history, and we know many of the things that were said were really meant to keep us apart. Nothing deeper.
What was the realization of this? I've got to ask. So, because there are those who would make a decision because it is something that they wanted, or make a decision to keep somebody else out. What is the impetus behind this move? And I think a lot of people are going to ask the question, why come together now? Why did this realization not come about 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Because this would-be quarrel, is not something that started when Deputy President William Ruto said he wanted to run for president. It has been there before.
Yes.
Why not come together before that? Because it would seem as though, in many quarters, that there is the coming together to push him out, and that it's not real. Is the coming together real? Is it an authentic coming together?
Yes,
of
that's
two
a
sides?
very important question, and I want to tell you that is one of the things that I personally would want to work on, and it is to make it real. That is why it was important for me to approach it from even the elders, those who were there before in the 1960s. Where did these quarrels start? And we've been given that history is not easy, because you're dealing with a whole generation that was completely, many people are not there. And we have believed that, when some of us were growing up, you would be told, when I was a young person, because Laira was still in politics, he was depicted to me like a person, if I come across or I'm in the same room with him, I am not likely to
make it out alive.
Walk out with all my hearts or the eyes or something. These are the things. And why was that being done is because, you see, we had Kenyatta and Jaramogi family. They fell apart. And the reasons they fell apart really were ideological. And apparently, the falling apart was not because of ideological differences between Jaramogi and Kenyatta, but this couple of Kikuyus who allowed Kenyatta, who wanted to do things differently from what was the initial agreement. Just like it is today. We have people even around Uhuru today who really don't want this thing to be done in any, with a long-lasting idea. But we have. I said this when we were invited to Orengo's family home the other day as Kikuyus, elders, and we said, what kind of structures do we need to put in place to ensure that we never go back to where we are? So the question you're asking is like, work in progress. We don't want to go back to this. William presented us an opportunity to heal. Unfortunately for him, without his knowing, he came in, yeye ametumwa na Mwenyezi Mungu kutusaidia kufikiria shida yetu na nyinyi ni gani, na shida yetu na nyinyi ni gani. So it's an opportunity that we have as a country to go through this difficult path that we have had, and especially me from Mount Kenya, and as a leader from Kikuyu community, I am ready to take this leadership and see why is it that we have disagreed with these people and those people, including why is it that we have disagreed with the Karejins. I know it is a issue of machamba, na hiyo haitakuwa rahisi kwa sababu hakuna mtu atatoka kwa machamba aende kwa barabara rahisi. Hiyo si kitu rahisi, lakini ingine ya kupigana kwa sababu ati baba zenyu walikuwa wanapigana, that is something that we needed. But it has also been put clearly, some people, not clearly, but in a very ni ile watu kutaka kusema siasa ambayo kwa njia rahisi, kwa sababu Kibaki was running, why would I have supported Raila? That's a very I wouldn't mind it.
But you mentioned the two, and this is where the conundrum comes in. With all the negative narratives that we've heard in the past, Kibaki becomes president. There's a tour of central Kenya. Raila is received as a hero. I mean, the change was like day and night. Prior to that, this man had been demonized. And then it's not at 10 years, just a few months down the line, this man is received as a hero and people are happy. In my mind.
And then 2 years later, back to factory settings.
Exactly. So, is it, which do we believe? That the common mwananchi in central Kenya didn't really have a quarrel with the man or with the community. It is something that people like yourselves who are in politics would engineer to ensure that they benefit from it. Yes, I was a young person in the Kenyatta era, but what you say is true. And it wasn't a cabal around Jomo Kenyatta. It was a cabal of Kiambu politicians around Kenyatta. Because if you count the number of ministers from Kiambu who are in that government, it is shocking. That just that small region has the number of ministers and in very key positions. Now, the lie that politicians tell, what you're dealing with are the consequences.
Yes.
Unintended consequences. Because you're now saying, this was never really true. What is actually true is this. But what is also true is, if Raila Odinga managed to get the votes that we are told he got without support from central Kenya, and with every year, the number of Kenyans who attain adulthood also increases. Unless someone is going to say that the population in central Kenya increases at a greater rate than every other part of the country, you would argue that those who come from the region that have supported Raila have also grown in numbers. So arguably, he doesn't need central Kenya votes.
Now, many things that you have said that are near accurate.
Hold on, CT.
Near.
It is not a politician, and I like the way he's speaking.
Your Excellency.
No, I want to say it is true. In fact, it is actually time for those of us in positions of influence to know how crucial it is. Whatever we say, people, you may think that people don't take it in, they don't consume it, but what we are actually dealing with is it's like you have said, consequences of what other leaders have done before or said.
Yes.
Kibaki's fallout with Raila.
Yes.
And I can tell you, it was a very bitter thing for Kibaki. We would walk into Kibaki. I remember one day we drove along this Mombasa road. He had gone out of the country, and it is the time Raila was in Mombasa, and he said, serikali chensi, watu wameninyima mkeka nusu hata choo hakuna. You remember that that thing? Yeah. And of course, Raila was not complaining about mukeka and choo. It is the mistreatment that he was receiving from those people,
the PNU
the
side.
state officials.
Yes, the state officials, because they were still trying to push him out.
Yep.
So it is still the behavior of those people around the president who have made this difficult for us as a country. When we go to the airport to receive Kibaki, and he was really an unhappy person when I saw people receiving him. He really wondered, why is it? And he kept asking, hakukuwa na kazi ingine ya kufanya?
Mmekuja
nyinyi wote, na kweli mmekuja wengi. Na kazi kabisa hakuna. So we went to the airport to receive him. And he told us those funny comments. And when he started that way, I knew we were in for some roasting. So we forced him into a holding room to report Raila. And that time, we also wanted to show him that we are winning others to your side. We had gotten Isaac Ruto into PNU from Raila's camp. We had gotten Kutuni into PNU from Raila's camp. You remember the Pentagon?
Yep.
So we even appointed Kutuni and Isaac to be the spokespeople on our behalf. Amekaa pale, tukasema, tumetukanwa when you are away, you are excellency nini, tumefanywa, he has treated us badly, this guy has no respect for you. Then Kibaki said, bas, kama iko namna hiyo, ile mtu ambaye atakosea ni mwenye atajibu. Hapana jibu, wewe kwenda kufanya kazi yako. And he stood up and left.
So your game unraveled right there.
And left. The other time was another experience we had with him. Is again that we went to him and said, Raila. Those who are saying, I am saying we, because I don't want to sound like I was any better than them. But he again said something that was even more telling. Sasa wewe kichwa yako ni fitina tu. Asubuhi fitina. Kesho fitina. Ukilala fitina. Hakuna kitu ingine iko kwa kichwa. Fitina tu. Wewe kwenda fanya kazi yako. Then he also said it. Na kama wewe unafikiri wewe ni mtu mzuri sana, na ni kweli wewe tunapenda wewe, tunataka kufanya kazi na wewe ni mtu mzuri. Na kama wewe ni mzuri sana, basi kwenda kwao ukachaguliwe ukuje tufanye na wewe. Na kama haiwezekani, lazima ufanye kazi na huyu upendi. So Kibaki left State House, not a happy man that they were not together with Raila. 2-3 individuals were responsible for the fallout between Raila and Kibaki. And I will not mention them.
Don't worry.
Because
we can mention them on
that happened when he was unwell.
Yes.
And it was within, but it happened because they were again fed with the old narrative. Because when Kibaki was unwell, the people who were in charge of correcting information said it has been planned. Mzee will be thrown out before the end of this month. And the three became very protective. So they threw everybody else out and protected Kibaki. That is how the Jamba, one day, the following day. So these narratives, not just from the readers, but the system also works against that intended end game. And I hope that the system that Raila will put together is a system that will not bring this marriage to an end. And I want to tell you, that's why I think Raila understands it better. He has a lot of respect for the Council of Elders. They are not a structure that you know, but he has a lot of respect for the Kikuyu Council of Elders. He has protected the Kikuyu Council of Elders during Uhuru's time more than the system has protected. He believes that he can invest this newfound relationship elsewhere, where perhaps it's more permanent and where it can be taken down to the people as opposed to what has happened there before.
Let's conclude
so
the conversation.
I want to say this, that without doubt, if again we are not also careful, Raila has the capacity. By the way, Raila will make it president if we were to move back, because even from Mount Kenya, he was still getting some votes. If it wasn't for the killing, the might that set that was, and this is where I really don't like what William has done to us, to our own people. If it wasn't for William planting the bad seed in these young mites, that Raila is like this, Kitadawili and the rest, he was going to continue winning as chunks of course, age may not be on his side, but he was going to win without your help.
It's interesting, Mheshimiwa, that now you're blaming it all on William, and yet you have said before that you yourselves and the others have been spreading the same malice against
But
Raila.
in the last 4 years...
Is it not possible that the people of Mount Kenya can think for themselves without necessarily having to wait for William Ruto to come and tell them?
Now, Mount Kenya people can think for themselves, just like people from many other parts of this country. But the reality of our country is that leaders have influence, and they have more influence than you'd want to imagine, including from the areas you come from. So it is very important that and I own up also. I may not have, I keep going through the clips to see what did I say that was terrible about Raila. I haven't come across a very bad one.
Not a really bad one.
I hope I don't come across bad ones. But it is our responsibility. We have done it before. The Mount Kenya people have capacity to think through. But leaders influence, and why we are blaming is because when we choose to become friends with Raila, you from another region came to tell us that you are friends with a bad person. That is why we are blaming William Ruto. Not because our own leaders didn't do their bit also, but because he chose it. He thought that
chose somebody else's game.
Yeah.
Let's end it there, Mheshimiwa Ndu. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Asante
Come
sana.
again soon. After this NDC and after the Azimio is launched, we want to hear what the game plan is.
We know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Asante sana.
Very good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world.
Meeting since 2019. In the ruling, the tribunal's deputy chair Wilfred Mutuba stated that Wanjige had not exhausted the internal dispute resolution mechanisms before filing an application with the tribunal. Now, leaders from arid and semi-arid areas under the UPIA party have promised to lock the northeastern region behind Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga's presidential bid. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kuria Tani stated that the party has successfully managed to galvanize the region for Odinga's bid by curtailing infiltration of any other political outfit not allied to the Azimio La Umoja movement. The UPIA party leader alluded to the fact that the ground has shifted since UPIA intensified political activities geared at tuning support for the Azimio La Umoja movement. And the Senate has passed the Election Amendment Bill 2021 that scraps the university degree requirement for aspirants seeking elective post. This comes after 27 senators voted in favor of the bill during the third reading, with no single legislator opposing it. The overwhelming note by the Senate providing a sense of relief to thousands of Kenyans with political ambitions but lack the requisite document. The Elections Act Amendment Bill 2021, sponsored by Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, seeks to lower the threshold for qualification for those eyeing elective posts in the August 9th general elections by scrapping the university degree requirement in the Elections Act. Senator Murkomen proposes that the Elections Act be amended and that anyone with a diploma or post-secondary qualification can vie. Murkomen argues that any Kenyan citizen who is able to read and write in English or Swahili language is literate and is eligible to vie for any elective seat.
There is no way you can say automatically, because you have the basic qualifications, you are automatically going to be an MP or an MCA. You still have to go through rigorous campaign processes that will ensure that you are elected. And therefore, Madam Chair, this is at least the minimum we can give to our people in the beginning.
The bill passed its second reading on Tuesday, where 27 senators voted yes. On Wednesday, the bill passed through the committee stage and its third reading, where 27 senators voted in favor of the bill. None opposed it. And the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources will today launch the African Women Fish Processors and Traders Network Kenya chapter. This is envisaged to provide a platform for women fish processors and traders in the continent to collaborate and cooperate, share best practices, experiences, technologies, and learning together, advocate for issues affecting their activities, and facilitate enabling policy environment to enhance their role in fisheries sector in the continent. This will further strengthen their role as SME and hence expand their market and marketing opportunities, resulting in improved inter-regional African fish trade that contribute to food security and nutrition. And climate change and land use change are projected to make wildfires more frequent and intense, with a global increase of extreme fires of up to 14% by 2030, 30% by the end of 2050, and 50% by the end of the century. This is according to a new report by the United Nations Environment Programme and Grid Aridal, calling for a radical change in government spending on wildfires, shifting the investments from reaction and response to prevention and preparedness. The report, spreading like wildfire, the rising threat of extraordinary landscape fires, finds an elevated risk even for the Arctic and other regions previously unaffected by wildfires. The report is released before the resumed fifth session of the UN Environment Assembly UNEA 5.2, convenes in Nairobi between 28th February and 2nd of March 2022. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced a military operation in Ukraine, with explosions heard soon after in the capital and other parts of the country, prompting outrage from the Joe Biden, who warned over catastrophic loss of life. Weeks of intense diplomacy and the imposition of Western sanctions failed to deter Putin, who had massed between 150,000 and 200,000 troops along the borders of Ukraine. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
At a few minutes after 8 o'clock, we're still seeing that traffic on Mombasa Road this morning. It's heading out from Sabaki towards the SGR. That's going to slow down things quite considerably as you're trying to get towards General Motors. But there is an answer to this. Get off the ICD and use the Southern Bypass. There's an option for you to get into the city much quicker if that is your intended destination. Raila Odinga Way, then going on to Ngong Road, then out towards Kenyatta Avenue into the CBD. That's already a mess. We're looking at that whole Westlands area. Generally, the western part of the city looking pretty messy this morning. The Thika Superhighway, Kiambu Road, Limuru Road, Juja Road, that is doing the thing. This is all coming off Outer Ring. That is a lot of traffic that we're looking at. We're at the bumper-to-bumper stage of traffic hour. And Jogo Road also, that started early. So we still see this North Airport Road also taking a big hit from folks who are trying to get off of Mombasa Road. Okay, take it all in stride, folks. Let us know. You find a good route? I know the bypasses will do you good, except for the Eastern Bypass that clogged up very early this morning and is still doing the rounds. Okay, talk to us. SpiceFM, KE on Twitter. Remember, you see bodies of water, do not be tempted to get in, all right? We don't know how deep they are. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving as best we can.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It is
the
7
only
minutes
way
after
to
8.
start
This
your
is Kenya's
day.
biggest conversation, The Situation Room. The third hour of our show today, 24th of February, Thursday. It's our first Friday of our week on this show. And we are happy that you're tuned in. Thank you very much for choosing us on SpiceFM, on YouTube, on Facebook. And now we're live for the next 1 hour on KTN Home. CT has the day's proverb.
The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair. This is a Tunisian proverb.
The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
Yes. Remember, I gave you the analogy and said, I come from a community where somebody may not necessarily have acquired enormous academic qualifications.
Yes.
But if a relative or a brother has the qualifications,
yes,
it's just the same as them. And they will tell you, do you know I'm so-and-so's brother? Just in case you think they don't amount to what you may consider much.
Yes.
Said, I am not as simple as you think. I am so-and-so's brother. And the so-and-so is somebody you know.
You're bald and you're boasting with your sister's
hair. Yes. You think I don't have hair? Look at my sister's hair.
Look at my sister.
Which is me.
We share the same DNA.
Yes.
Hashtag Justice Thursdays, where we have conversations about the justice sector, how easy and convenient it is for us to access justice in this country. These are the conversations that we have. Our guest today is from the Kenya Prison Service, and this is Mundos Munyewe, the Deputy Commissioner General of Prisons. Florence Omondi joins us in the studio. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Eric.
Good to have you in the show. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. We call that the hot seat, but because wewe ni mkubwa, madam, hiyo kiti tunaomba tuweke joto kidogo.
Thank
madam.
you. Asante sana.
You know, no, there are people now who, do you know me?
Yes.
My sister.
Yes.
Is the Deputy
My first cousin.
Commissioner General.
In fact, I have to ask this question. When you're a madam, so are you now also Madam Afande?
Yes.
Okay.
So it goes with Madam Afande?
Yes, don't just say Afande. It's Madam Afande.
Madam Afande.
They like calling you sir.
Oh, no, they do not.
Because in this space, they are used to have sir.
They're used to men.
Yes.
May I ask, when they do call you sir, how do you respond?
You respond normally, say thank you.
You basically just acknowledge and move on.
You understand.
Because you know
Yes,
they've
you
also just
understand.
realized their mistake. Soon after they said sir, And now they can't just come back to the boss and say, Madam,
I'm sorry, sir.
Florence Omondi is the first female Deputy General Commissioner of the prisons in Kenya's history. So we basically have somebody who has shattered that glass ceiling, and it's an honor to have you. How long have you worked with the prison service?
I have worked for close to 35 years. Before you were born, I was in the Kenya Prison Service.
Well, not me, but yeah. Before many people were born.
Eric, take advantage of this thing. You can change your ID.
I haven't yet.
Yes, you can be 34, surely.
So you've risen through the ranks of the prison up to this level now, which is the second highest, I believe.
Yes.
What's
precisely.
the structure of the prison service? So above you, how many people?
The Kenya Prison Service has the Commissioner General of Prisons, the retired Brigadier Warioba currently, then herself, Florence Omondi Momanyi.
Love it.
Yes, mother and wife. Proudly Kenyan, born in Kisii, bred there, traveled all over the world. Thank you.
How did you arrive at this job? I mean, of all the jobs that one could have done in Kenya.
By default.
Okay.
Latiff, by default.
Please tell us a little bit about it.
After university, actually before university, we were meant to fill in the Public Service Commission forms to get a job. And that time, the Moi era wanted to place people. It was basically for placement. And I got 3 places, to be a DO, to be a chief officer, and to be a labor officer too. And the first one was the chief officer, and we were supposed to go to Tatu. I went there not knowing what was in store for me, and I was locked up, and I've stayed on since.
That was the chief officer's job?
Yes. I was just excited to go. You know, my friends were like, you're going to be a locational chief? You'll be pouring changa? I said, yes. So I went to find out what is this thing. Yeah. And once you get into a camp, a military camp or whatever, they will take your fingerprints. Once that is done, you enter. They'll give you a uniform. They gave me some funny uniform, a very small skirt, and a top which had been used by somebody, and got into the barrack. And once you are in there, they say when you resign or when you take off, you'll be put in for 6 months. And I didn't want to be put in for 6 months because in any case, the gate was locked anyway. I didn't know what I was in for, but I've enjoyed the journey all the same.
So I presume that by the time you get into this position of Deputy Commissioner General, you've also then headed some prisons.
Yes.
What do you call the person who's in charge of a prison?
An officer in charge.
Okay. How many prisons have you been officer in charge of?
I've been an officer in charge of only 2 stations. Because from the moment I entered, you realize I entered as a chief officer after university, and I was picked as a good material for office work. And when I went to work in Shimola Atewa after Nyeri, His Excellency Moi, then the president, during the show, identified me as good material that can actually articulate issues of the Kenya Prison Service. And from there, then I was given a Commonwealth scholarship to go to the United Kingdom for a master's program. And after that, I came and I joined the administration. So I've basically moved from administration, a lecturer at the Staff Training College, back in various sections and directorates in the Kenya Prison Service, including administration. I've been in logistics before. I've been a PA to the Commissioner of Prisons before. I have also worked as a Director Gender. That is the longest that I've been. I worked as Director Gender for 10 years. Before now, I landed where I am. Yes.
We've invited you here because we want to talk about the plight of children who accompany their mothers when their mothers are put into prison. We have had conversations of this nature before. A couple of weeks ago, we had a conversation with the founder and head of an organization called Clean Start. She herself had been incarcerated and she went into prison with her child. And she's told us about the stories of what children go through, those young people who are not the ones who've been sent to prison by the system, but they just end up there because they have to accompany their mothers. I'm sure you've encountered some such cases. Just tell us your own experience and encounter of the children who are incarcerated with their parents.
Thank you. As of today, we have 233 children accompanying their incarcerated mothers. These are innocent victims of crime. The only crime that they've committed is that they need their mothers. Either they're in the womb or they're suckling. You know, they're at that stage when they need their mothers, and their mothers have found themselves at the wrong side of the law. So this sentence of their mothers also becomes the sentence of the children who accompany them to prison. And my first encounter was in Nyeri. I got there. The first thing that shocked me was a woman in a pink dress, just a dress. I thought this was not very good, because how can a woman just wear a straight dress like a bag? Then I entered the prison and I saw babies. First, I didn't understand what the babies were doing there until I was told that these are children who have accompanied their imprisoned mothers. Well, these children find themselves there because sometimes when the mothers commit a crime or when they are arrested, they are expecting. So what happens is that you cannot separate the mother from the child or the child from the mother, because the child is in the mother. And therefore, this mother comes without even the courts realizing that they've actually convicted and sentenced 2 or even 3 people in case the mother is carrying twins or quadruplets. So they will land in prison and they are there. So what I'm saying is that we also do not prepare to meet the children because they are sometimes not seen. They are those unseen, innocent victims of crime. They come without a warrant, because for somebody to be in prison, they must have an order, a committal warrant. These children don't have any. Actually, you never even see them in court. You will see them at the prison gate. Sometimes they come after the mother has been brought to prison, and the following day the child will be brought. So it was shocking for me.
Commissioner, I'm listening to you, and I'm trying to picture this situation, having visited prisons before. And I'm thinking, does the prison structure actually consider accommodating children? Is there something within the structure of the prisons that actually takes care of children, so that should children arrive with their mothers or the mothers arrive when they're expectant?
Thank you, Latiff. Yes, the prisons is prepared to receive these children, only that you are not sure how many children you are receiving, because like I've said, sometimes the child is in the mother. So you wake up in the morning, you slept with 10 and you have 11 or 12 in the morning, which means then that during the night, some arrangements must have been made. But we have facilities to take care of children in the prisons.
Could you walk us through these facilities and explain to us, beginning with an expectant mother when she delivers, how you go to the point where maybe children are now 1 or 2 years old and so forth?
Yes, the prisons department is in the State Department for Correctional Services in the Ministry of Interior. We have 134 penal institutions in the country. Out of these, 43 are female institutions that have a child, so to say. We have 33 which are gazetted. We also have 6 which are wings. A wing means that it is a prison that has children. It is for women, but it's under the management of a male institution. And therefore, these ones, they are just a small wing, a small section within the male institution. But it's normally separate from the main male prison. And these prisons are spread across the country. The only one that we have that is fully independent and autonomous from any male autonomy is the Langata Maximum Women Prison. Yeah. And this one is fully furnished. It fully takes care of the children. It has a health facility. It has child caregivers. It has a state-of-the-art Montessori-based daycare center. We will talk about this later, I think. And then we have their own kitchenette to prepare their meals. And they have antenatal and postnatal care. This is actually across all the prisons that we have in the country.
Okay. So, I mean, from what you're saying, Commissioner, there are arrangements that have been made for these children.
Sure.
But you've also said that there's no committal warrant for children. The committal warrant is on the mother who comes in. So if there's no committal warrant, do we go ahead to say then there is no provision by law for these children? And if these arrangements have been made, is it a quasi-arrangement or is it something that has come about later?
Thank you. The Prisons Act, Cap 90, Section 34, subsection 4, provides for children below the age of 4 years accompanying their mothers in prison, and the law states that they will be taken care of at public expense.
Okay.
So that statement allows for children to be in there. But a lot of progress has been made such that now for a child to be in prison, they have a court order. Yes. So that then we don't become a conduit maybe for trafficking of children, so that we are able to account for every child who is in our institution. So we have a court order. And now we have also developed with the judiciary, the National Council for Administration of Justice, Special Task Force for Children Matters. We now have a P&C, Child Care and Protection file form for the child. It will be filled so that this is a child in need of care and protection, and we have this form which then takes care of the child.
Actually, just mentioning it and saying that there is now a court order that accompanies every child that comes to prison, and saying that also helps us to avoid cases of child trafficking. Just raises the red flag.
Yeah.
Have there been cases such as those where you have gotten to a point as the prison service management questioned the authenticity of some of the children who are accompanying so-called parents?
Yes, we have. We've had cases where a mother will come with a child, and you feel like the child is not quite comfortable. We have welfare officers within the prison service, but we also work closely with the other child-based agencies in the country, like the Children's Department, probation and all this, and they will go and do now an inquiry to find out does this child belong to the mother? Yes, because you see some child are brought in while the mother is with us, and this is why it was necessary for a P&C form to be filled and even to have a court order. Right now, you cannot have a child leave prison, even to the father, until we have a court order. Yes.
We've also seen, Commissioner, that from the statistics we've seen and heard, that the majority of the women who are in prison today with their children are actually there for cases that could have been sorted out in a different manner, like we say.
Yes.
Are not necessarily your hardened criminal kind of cases. They are actually cases that are in prison for things like lack of, bail payment, lack of legal representation, and so they're there until their case can be heard. Is there something that can be done to see that these women are actually not in the prison system, but that something else can be done so that we avoid the situations whereby they have to be incarcerated with their children? And are you part of this conversation?
Yes. Thank you. Was it Udo? Well,
Undu.
Undu.
Yes.
I think I should write it.
I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just
you know.
Let your tongue roll over the name as you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. That is actually quite interesting because we have the task force for children matters. It was previously headed by the Chief Justice herself. And when she became Chief Justice, then it's being headed by Justice Teresia Madheka. The membership is drawn from all the child-based agencies like the Kenya Prison Service, the Children's Service, police, all of them, judiciary and all the others, and even from the civil society. This is a gazetted task force. The task force has achieved a lot. And part of what the task force has achieved is what you are alluding to this morning. And one of the big steps taken is that it's pushed the conversation to another level, such that now we have the task force organizing service weeks. Yeah, in the service weeks, they fast track children cases, and for us, they fast track cases of mothers who have children. And they also have gone ahead and done a lot of sensitization on alternative dispute resolution, so that some cases for these women who are really petty offenders can be handled even outside the court. You know, they also do give non-custodial sentences for some of these women. So a lot has been done, and they're also pushing a budgeting a program for children in the different institutions. And even right now, the Kenya Prison Service has made a tremendous step. We are working on a policy on children accompanying their mothers in prison, or a policy on mothers who have children in prison accompanying them. These are tremendous steps to address those gaps, the gaps that then would alleviate the pain of people serving sentences for very petty offenses. Yeah. A lot is being done. Yeah.
Let's take a break at this point. It's coming up to 28 minutes after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room on SpiceFM, online, YouTube and Facebook, and also on KTN Home. Our guest this morning, Justice Thursdays, is Florence Omundi Momanyi. She is the Deputy Commissioner General of the Kenya Prison Service, the first female Deputy Commissioner General of the Kenya Prison Service. We are talking about protecting the rights of children accompanying imprisoned mothers. We've heard this conversation before. Now we want to hear it from the duty bearers. How are prisons handling children who have gone into prison not because they have been condemned to prison, but because their mothers have been sent to prison and the children have nowhere else to go but just to follow their mothers? How are they being treated? It's a conversation we're having. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly after we take a look at the weather and traffic. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi umbo yako iko na pembe.
Ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, Nairobi, mostly cloudy conditions for most parts of today. At 16 currently, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's mostly cloudy at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 24 and lows of 15. 22 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy right now at 16. 17 degrees and sunny conditions in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 13. It's cloudy at 26 in Mombasa, highs of 32 and lows of 26, while in Malindi, it's cloudy at 28, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Cloudy conditions at 20 in Kisumu, Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega it's cloudy at 20. It'll go to highs of 27 and lows of 14. Kampala is cloudy at 24, highs of 27 and lows of 20, while at 27 it's raining in Dar es Salaam, highs of 30 and lows of 26. Johannesburg is sunny at 18, highs of 27 and lows of 15, while it's partly cloudy in Lagos. Go to highs of 34 and lows of 26. And Kinshasa is sunny at 24. That'll be today's low. It'll go to highs of 32.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Okay, so the question is, what is happening? Nairobi Nakuru Highway outbound, very heavy traffic. Starlet from Kimende. The question is, what's going on? There was a terrible accident that happened this morning, and that has stopped traffic. So we're seeing kilometers of outbound traffic today, and it's crazy. So if you're heading in that direction, if you're coming in from that direction, just know that's what lies ahead. You might want to delay things for some time so that this now is sorted out. Police are on the scene trying to sort that out and get the vehicles out of the way so that traffic then can move along. Coming back into Nairobi, still seeing the Thika Superhighway quite full this morning, and we're seeing bumper-to-bumper traffic continues on Langata Road. Looking at Raila Odinga Way, taking some of that action. North Airport Road today is actually quite sticky going towards the Eastern Bypass. Might want to avoid that if you can. Going towards Outer Ring, looking a little bit better until you get to that junction at Alsops, then going towards Thika Road. Looking a little bit better on Kiambu Road as well. Keep an eye on things. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Conversation continues with Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga. And our guest today, hashtag Justice Thursdays, is Florence Omundi Momanyi. She's the Deputy Commissioner General of the Kenya Prison Service, talking about protecting the rights of children who were accompanied imprisoned mothers. Madam Commissioner, before we took the break, you told us that there's a lot that's being done by the National Council for the Administration of Justice, the Prison Service itself, and other arms in seeing how best to avoid the children getting into the prisons in the first place. Even as we talk about then protecting those that end up in prison. One of those is making sure that as much as possible, the justice system shall try and deal with petty offenders in a different manner. Is that being put in practice, or is it still just on paper?
Thank you, Eric. The justice system is very sensitive to the needs of children, and especially the children accompanying their mothers. And the mothers who have children are not handled just like any other ordinary person, because they have needs which are very keen and very key to every Kenyan and to everybody who has the interest of children at heart. And therefore, the judiciary has gone out of the way to sensitize actually the whole of the criminal justice system and other actors on why it is important not to hold mothers who have children in prison. So yes, it's happening, and they are looking also at the bail and bond so that the bonds are affordable to these women. And I know that other stakeholders also come on board to help pay bails and bonds for these women, even fines actually for the women, so that they spend their time outside. Thank you.
Can you play an advisory role? And I'm just because I may not understand the process of the relationship then between Kenya prisons and the capacity in which you sit, the judiciary and those other processes.
Prosecutor and the police.
Can you play an advisory role? Because of what you see on a daily basis, it cannot be pretty, right? I mean, seeing and experiencing young children in the system in their formative years, right, for however long it takes. So can you play an advisory role beyond getting well-wishers to pay bail and bond, to actually go as far as saying, look, petty offenders, can we make sure that they don't step in here even one day? Especially because of these children that we are looking at that they would likely have. And if we have established that they do have young children, can we even say, let's advise and let's work together here to say that let's not even get to the point whereby they're paying bail and bond. Let's look at it and say, can they do community service, for example? Can they do something else that would then remove the entire possibility of them having to step in here? I'm almost sure, if I can even speak for you, that you would prefer a situation where children were not in prison.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We actually have the Court Users Committee, and we are a member of the Court Users Committee. The Court Users Committee brings on board all the children justice players in the country, and this is where you have this conversation on how do we then handle cases that affect children, and that is their mothers and all this, and therefore it's a conversation that is on. We have a Court Users Committee, we have the NCAJ Task Force for Children, and in this we all sit there. I'm a member, and the prisons in the country are also members. They also attend the CUCs all over the country. Yeah.
What would you prefer, Madam Commissioner? What would you prefer?
Well, I would prefer that children do not enter prisons at all. Prison is not for children. However, because there are situations where we may not avoid this, like where a woman is brought in and she's expecting, where the environment at home is so bad that the child really is better in prison with the mother, we need these children to bond with their mothers. There's trauma in there, yes, but there's even more trauma outside because you are dealing with the poor women coming sometimes from the informal settlements, from very abusive homes, and therefore you're thinking in terms of how do you leave this child? So there are situations where we cannot avoid a child being in a penal institution with the mother. However, while they are there, we make sure that the best interest of the child gets attended. Yes, you see there are also in international conventions. We have the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the African Charter for the Right and the Welfare of the Child. We also have the national, like the Constitution of Kenya at 491. And therefore these ones have also clearly come out and stipulated on how then do you handle a child who may have found themselves in prison somehow. Yes, I mean, we can't totally avoid it, but we are saying that the best place for a child is not prison. No. It is not prison. Prison is not for children. But however, should the child find themselves there, there are still mechanisms, there are still steps that have been taken. Measures have been put in place to adequately address their issues.
Are those measures in place, Madam Commissioner? When we spoke to Teresa Njoroge of Clean Start, she was giving us, examples of where children go into prison accompanying their mothers and the trauma lives with them. Even when they come out of prison, they still get affected. She was telling us about her own daughter, whenever she sees the kind of prison uniform, that is a trigger to the trauma that she went through. Do you give them psychosocial support, these children, as they are growing up in the prison? How are you taking care of them as they grow up psychosocially?
Thank you. Initially, these children just landed there. But with time, we have now come up with mechanisms of addressing those traumatic experiences, and the other challenges that may affect the children because even of the environment itself, like I've said, is not for children. Remember, prisons are closed institutions. Children grow up in free environments where they run up and down and mix with the children. Remember, prisons is for grown-ups. So when you have a child with grown-ups who have committed offenses, you can be sure that the children will be affected. But we have now employed early children development and education teachers. We have ECDE teachers in our facilities. We have employed also child experts. We have social workers. And we are also working with the other partners to ensure that these children get psychosocial support. And like I've said, we are also working on a policy to address some of those issues. Actually, most of them. The policy is in progress, and I'm sure that by March, the policy will have come out, so that then we have a way of addressing these issues officially, and which is also embedded in law.
Do the children get an opportunity to get out of prison at any point, during this time? Get out of prison, accompanied by social workers and their ECD teachers, to go to other places where they can see that there is environment outside of prison for purposes of when they need to be reintegrated into the society?
Yes, thank you very much. One, in the daycare centers that I mentioned earlier are within the prison compounds, but not within the confines of the prison facility itself. So every morning, these children are taken out of the prison to the daycare center. And in the daycare centers, they live and mix with other children, or they will stay with, they will stay with their caregivers, but they walk around. But we also have instances where we take these children to the orphanage, like in Langata. In Mombasa, one time we took them to town. Mm-hmm. That was not a good experience.
Why?
The children didn't understand. They were actually scared. They saw too much space, too much sunshine, too many people, and the children were even feeling traumatized because they have not been used to too much noise.
Okay.
Out there was too much noise. But now we deliberately make an effort to ensure that these children are taken outside so that they can interact with the outside world with a view to preparing them for integration, because they'll definitely get out. And this is also addressed in the policy. Yeah.
Schooling for the children. You mentioned ECD, early childhood learning. That, I think, is a good thing, but it is a structure within the prison confines.
Yes.
Since it's a schooling environment, do they have opportunity to mix with other students who are perhaps in other learning institutions other than within the confines of the...
Yes. Actually, the daycare centers and the nursery schools are not within the prison walls. They are in the larger prison compound, and some are even outside. If you go to Kakamega, for example, the children are taken to a school outside the prison. Mm-hmm. If you go to Meru, you'll also experience the same, because remember, our children are not enough. The numbers are not enough to allow us have a school. However, a child starts developing from the womb. This is in the Constitution also. Life starts at 0. So this child starts learning right from the womb. Immediately it is born, the child gets to learn, to prepare themselves for the early schooling. If it doesn't start at that time, you lose a stage. And I'm sure this is what Teresa was alluding to. This is what she experienced, because you see, this child misses a stage. A stage where they play, where they are children. Children should be allowed to be children. So they actually go out. They go to school with other children outside. In Langata, previously the nursery school used to be called nursery school. These days they call them kindergartens. They are outside. So we take the children who are like 3 to 4 to the school outside. Yes, so that they can mix with the other children.
Does anything ever show? I mean, it sounds like maybe the answer would be obvious, but does anything ever show on the record of this child after having been in this in a prison, going through school, later on in life, that they spent their formative years here? Does it ever show on their record in any shape or form?
Oh no. That is an offense. The law is very clear, the Children's Act 2001, that the record, the birth certificate, should not indicate that the child was born in prison. Actually, even your own child, the birth certificate does not indicate that they were born in the kitchen. It does not indicate that they were born in the house. It indicates that maybe they were born in Nairobi, in Nairobi hospital. Yes. So even for these children, it does not indicate that they were born in prison, the law requires that even when they are going to school in prison, their certificate will not indicate that.
Okay,
it's very clear, it's
It will
legal.
not indicate which institution they went to school.
No.
Okay.
Just a school, because our schools are registered as just schools, not prison schools, but they're just registered as schools. Yes.
Your service, the prison service, is a rehabilitative and correctional facility. I'm assuming that also in the law, you are mandated to think about rehabilitating and reintegrating your customers, so to speak, back to society. Now, these children are also part of those customers. Is there a program on how to reintegrate them back into society? Is there any follow-up that you are mandated to have once you have released somebody from prison, they've gone back into society, to follow up and make sure that they are being reintegrated peacefully?
Thank you, Eric. Reintegration starts right from conviction. When they get into our facility, one thing that we do is that we allow them to have visits. The father, the other siblings at home will come and visit the mother in prison, so that then the bonding is maintained. We have open days. We have what are they called? We have open days. We have what are these days called? I will just remember what the days are called. When we have children, remote parenting. We have remote parenting days. This is a Chinese concept that's now borrowed here. And in this remote parenting day, the prison organizes an open day whereby the family members will come to prison and visit the mother, bringing in the children who are left at home, yes, so that they can then be able to bond with the one inside the prison. Even if the mother does not have a child in prison, her children will be brought in so that she can look at the progress, the school progress. They can share.
How many times a year does this happen?
Well, it depends on how the station is able to organize themselves and how busy they are. Some of the stations, like Langata, are quite busy, but they can organize. It's open. Yes, it's open.
So there's no set weekly, monthly, no?
No. It's not like weekly, monthly, but it depends on how, because you see, it's not really embedded in law yet. We are working on it. It is part of what we are addressing in the policy. Yes. So that once then it's in the policy, we can say, can we have open days or remote parenting days, maybe quarterly? Can we? But it's open. It's open. We don't normally stop a parent who wants to come to prison to see a child or a sibling.
So reintegration begins, like you said,
begins at that point.
From sentencing.
Yes, from sentencing.
When they come into the facility and throughout their stay in the facility.
Yes.
Now you've released them. Do you continue?
When we've released them, before releasing them, we have to ensure that they are where they will go. Because you don't just release a child if the mother is in prison. Remember, when they attain 4 years of age, then we release them. Whether the mother has been released or not, the child will have to leave our facility on attaining 4 years of age. Now, if the mother is with us, then it means that it's incumbent on us to visit this child. Because remember, we are holding the mother. So we must send our welfare officers to ensure that the child is okay. In fact, we are thinking of taking photographs every month because children change. And if a mother is serving like a life sentence and the child was born while she was with us, you can imagine that the child might even change. And the mother may not be able to recognize this child when they are grown up. So there's a deliberate effort to ensure that the mother and the child are united. They are linked somehow. The child can be brought to prison, and then they will be able to visit their mothers. And that is now the reintegration part that we do, the follow-up. Yes, that is the follow-up that we do, because remember, the mother is with us.
So what is this thing that you'll do to check where the child is going? This child is approaching 4 years old.
Yes.
We are going to release them back to society. What do you check?
What we do is that we check, do they have a relative, a next of kin, who can take care of this child? If we don't have a next of kin or a relative or anybody who can take care of this child, then what we do is that we will give the child to a children's home, a child institution, yes, a CCI, a children care institution. And while the child is here, we monitor and we follow up because this is still our child as long as the mother is with us. So that is the link. The link is the mother actually. And whichever comes first. If the child attains 4 years of age and they have been handed over to a relative, good. But if the child attains 4 years of age and they're still stuck with us, we've not been able to make any effort, or we've not managed to trace the next of kin, then the child will definitely be taken to a home. Yes. And even homes are still not really encouraged. The government is having conversation on fostering. Yeah, foster parenting. I know that you are aware of this. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of funding, looking at the situation, in terms of funding, especially for caring for these children, is it enough? Because we are still told, Madam Commissioner, of donations being made of things like diapers and baby food and formula. And funding clearly is not enough.
Sure.
And we even have, bless their hearts, prison officers who are, giving out of their own pocket to help these children. How or what is the situation like, and how can it be improved, made better, knowing that there is this population of children in prison?
Thank you. Actually, like I stated at the very beginning, this child comes in and it's like there is really no document, that brings in the child until now when we now have this court order. And the funding for the children is not adequate. And this is why it was necessary for us to come up with a policy so that then this policy will help us now get funding for these children. Remember, prisons is not for children. Like I said, it is for offenders. So it is anticipated that no children will be brought in. And when they find themselves in our place, and remember I said you wake up in the morning and a child has been born. A child will even been born with special needs. And therefore, it then means that even that budgeting is really not done because it's assumed that children are not in prison. Prisons are for grown-ups who have done offenses. And you see, society is very punitive, by the way. The society assumes that this woman or this man should be punished and even punished until they drop dead. They're forgetting that these are mothers. They're forgetting that these are mothers even with a child in prison. And therefore, it is my prayer that we really get adequate funding for children. But the NCAJ has done, with a consultant, has done a budgeting for children in prisons. And that document has been worked on, budgeting for children in all institutions, actually not only in prisons. And there's a very good document that has been done. They've gone round and they've done a survey on how much do we need per child? How much space do we need per child? Like now, even in the policy, we are saying we have small facilities for children, we have medium, and we have large. We need playgrounds, we need all this. We've come up with a raft of items that we need, even budget items that will have to be addressed for these children to be adequately taken care of, because you see the Constitution recognizes every child as a child with rights and that they have that inherent dignity as children of this world, as children of Kenya. And therefore, it's really important that they get adequate funding, whether they are there by default or not. Those children are there by right because their mothers are with us.
In the meantime, what's happening?
In the meantime, we have the government gives us money for the children. It is not enough.
Is it how does the money come? Is it capitation X amount per child?
Yes, it's X amount per child.
And how much is that per child? And what does it cater for?
We have 400. Actually, what like for food for the child is double that of the grown up, 420. While it's 210 or 220 for the grown-up.
Per what?
Yes, per day. Okay. Per day. So it's not like it's so little, really. But the reason why people come in to give these diapers and whatever is because of what we've talked about, reintegration. We are trying to tell Kenyans, this is your child held here with us. Can you also, step in? Can you also give a hand? Can you also be part of the system that rehabilitates the mother and reintegrates the child? It's important that every Kenyan carries that responsibility, feels duty bound also to take care of a child who is with the mother, because you see, crime is committed out there, not in prison. Therefore, if the mother commits a crime and you Kenyans decide that the mother will have to spend time in prison, can you also come and support us, take care of this child? We are in it with all of us, everybody, including me and you. All the Kenyans.
Prisons, we know this. I mean, we are not even putting you on the spot here. We know these are prisons in Kenya are congested. Okay? Your holding capacity versus the number of people that you have in prisons currently do not match.
That's true.
That is the same case even for the women prisons. And you've told us we have 33 female prisons and some 6 wings that are in a male prison, but then accommodating women. Now, the children in these facilities, do they have, for example, just the basics of accommodation? Do they have special accommodation? Do they have baby cots? Do the mothers who are here with a young child, a 1-year-old, do they sleep in a separate room? Is there any kind of special treatment that is given to a mother who's nursing a child? Okay, to the child who's being nursed by a mother.
Thank you, Eric. Actually, every prison has a child facility. Some are very basic items, very basic. They are very basic, but some are very well equipped. But in all the female prisons, there are beds and mattresses. In all the female institutions in this country, wherever there's a child, there's a unit for taking care of the child, for mother and child unit. They are not mixed with the others. And remember, we only have like 3,000 female inmates. Yeah, in a population of 50, like today we have almost 54,000, 53,700 and I think 43 today. And we have only 233 children. Langata, which is the biggest, accommodates 60, but we have 27 today. So some of them have 2, some have 3. You can imagine that 233 in 43 institutions. It's not a very big number. Yeah, the women are not so many actually, and the women are not mixed with the men. There's congestion, yes, but the children are handled separately. Yes.
Madam, we want to thank you very much for joining us today. Florence Omondi Momanyi is the Deputy Commissioner General of the Kenya Prison Service. She has been with us this morning, Justice Thursdays, to talk about protecting the rights of children who are accompanying imprisoned mothers. There's a comment here from Innocence Kenya who says, actually, Madam Commissioner, the law under the Persons Deprived of Liberty Act 2014 provides for 4 open days per year for prisons. Right? So already we have the 4 open days where the children can come and visit. But asante sana for coming to share all this information with us. We are looking forward to having you again soon, and let's talk about the progress that has been made, especially when that policy is ready. Let's discuss it and let's subject it to public participation.
Thank you very much, Eric. It was a pleasure being here.
Asante sana.
Children are not numbers. Children don't belong to prisons. It is our duty and our responsibility as Kenyans to take care of the children who are accompanying their mothers in prison and even the ones who are left at home. It is our responsibility. It's our duty. Thank you.
The conversation continues on SpiceFM. Thank you very much for tuning in on KTN Home. We are also live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube and Facebook.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort.
Nafandi umbo yako iko na pembe. Hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
And the conversation continues. In the next hour, we open up the phone lines for you to join this conversation. Sagana 3 yesterday. That's what we'll be discussing. Did the president move the mountain? Did he or did he not? 0719-012-600. You'll join us in that conversation. A very good morning to you. It's now 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Muthui. I'm Dennis Aseto. Machakos Governor aspirant Nzio Kawaita says he will strive to recover the lost glory of the county if elected the next governor in the August 9th general election. Waita kicked off his Talk to Me campaign tour in Dithini, Masinga Sub-County, promising to ensure adequate supply of water, proper roads and improved healthcare services through engagement with community health workers. The former State House Chief of Staff further pledged to create a market for the county's agricultural produce, lamenting that an area like Dithini has lagged behind in development despite its great potential in the sector. Now, political aspirants have something to smile about. This after the Senate passed the Election Amendment Bill 2021 that scraps the university degree requirement for aspirants seeking elective post. This comes after 27 senators voted in favor of the bill during the third reading, with no single legislator opposing it. The Elections Act Amendment Bill 2021, sponsored by Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, seeks to lower the threshold for qualification for those eyeing elective posts in the August 9th general elections by scrapping the university degree requirement in the Elections Act. Senator Murkomen proposes that the Election Act be amended and that anyone with a diploma or post-secondary qualification can vie. Murkomen argues that any Kenyan citizen who is able to read and write in English or Swahili language is literate and is eligible to vie for the elective seat.
There is no way you can say automatically, because you have the basic qualifications, you are automatically going to be an MP or an MCA. You still have to go through rigorous campaign processes that will ensure that you are elected. And therefore, Madam Chair, this is at least the minimum we can give to our people in the beginning.
The bill passed its second reading Tuesday, where 27 senators voted yes Wednesday. The bill passed through the committee stage and its third reading, where 27 senators voted in favor of the bill, none opposed it. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, unprecedented challenges caused economic and social disruption. Lockdowns led to rising rates of adolescent pregnancy and early marriages, whose impact led to massive school dropouts despite government's spirited efforts to ensure the girls returned back to class. Many chose to stay home for fear of stigmatization and discrimination in their respective former schools. In Nakuru County, the narrative has changed, and finally, there is light at the end of the tunnel for the teen moms whose shame has been covered. The young mother's desire to pursue education is now a reality after an education center in Bukia opened its doors to them. In Narok South, Deputy County Commissioner Felix Kisalu has cautioned that the state could be forced to adopt tough measures to end female genital mutilation if the practice will not end this year as directed by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Kisalu said the government has used a lot of resources to campaign against the retrogressive cultural practice, warning that it will not be business as usual once the period directed by the president is over. He spoke during a gender meeting held in Narok Town, organized by Amref International, where he said the government has funded and worked with numerous non-governmental organizations to end the practice by the year 2022. Now, the Association of Pension Trustee and Administrators of Kenya wants the government to make pension schemes mandatory for all Kenyans to encourage the culture of saving. Speaking during the launch of the first annual International APTAK conference, President of the association, Jose Akili, said that many Kenyans face poverty upon retirement as they fall short of adequate savings. Akili said the Social Security Fund should be made a mandatory requirement by urging Kenyans to save just as the government did with the medical sector on the National Health Insurance Fund. He said there are at least 1,400 pension schemes in the country, most of which are voluntary, thus encouraging members of the public to join them for the betterment of their future when they retire. And the African Union Inter-Africa Bureau for Animal Resources will today launch the African Women Fish Processors and Traders Network Kenya chapter. This is envisaged to provide a platform for women fish processors and traders in the continent to collaborate and cooperate, share best practices, experiences, technologies and learning together, advocate for issues affecting their activities and facilitate an enabling policy environment to enhance their role in the fisheries sector in the continent. This will further strengthen their role in SME and hence expand their market and marketing opportunities, resulting in improved intra-regional Africa fish trade that contribute to food security and nutrition. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM.
Traffic hour, and it continues a few minutes after 9 o'clock. Still some on Langata Road today. Raila Odinga Way from that junction all the way to the roundabout at City Mortuary. Still very, very heavy. Gong Road not looking too pretty either. All this joining with the Huru Highway getting into the city. Way past that into Westlands. Speaking of Westlands, Ring Road Westlands taking a hit from very early in the morning. And what started very early in the morning on Thika Superhighway is looking a lot better now. Just past the Utali Drift is where traffic is. Pangani at the underpass is where you'll see the most of the traffic then getting towards the city. And then on towards Wangari Maathai Way today, that's where we see a lot. Okay, we should be out of it without too much of a headache today. Looks like it's not going to be manic. But let's keep talking, guys, just in case. That situation as you're going on the Nairobi-Nakuru Highway, however, is still under control. But the traffic is a mess because of that. Let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room,
It is
the only way to start your...
9. Good morning. This is the final hour of the show this morning. Is it cold outside?
It's
cloudy.
It was cold in the morning.
There's a chance of rain. Why?
Because I'm just feeling it.
You feel like it's cold outside while you're here.
Yeah.
You feel it in your fingers.
You feel it in your toes? You feel it a lot around you?
Oh, yes.
Well, that's the way it goes.
Okay. City, the day's proverb.
The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
Bald woman boasts of her sister's hair. Claim somebody else's achievements.
Take pride in it, boast, and connect yourself to it.
Isn't that what Kenyan politicians are very good at?
Hata sisi ile shida tuko nazo. Sisi kama wananchi. You're thinking, what on earth is this person talking about?
You want to live your citizenship vicariously through the people who are actually living their citizenship.
Yes.
Or the slightest form of a new development. As hospital has been built. Tumejenga hospitali.
Na hizi barabara mnaona ni sisi.
Tumejenga mabarabara, tumeunganisha stima, tumepatia vijana nafasi za ajira.
Na ile uchungu mnasikia kama wananchi, sisi pia tunaisikia rohoni.
Na sio sisi ni wale. Ni wale ndio wameleta hiyo shida.
Wale mnaojuao. How?
Them.
That one.
The president was in Sagana yesterday. He had invited some 5,000 people to come and have a conversation with. Okay? And then some extra people showed up. No, Julia posted this on social media in the morning and said, come on.
Get out of here.
Get me a break. Some people just came and they just showed up, some 2,000 extra people. And they turned up, and the president said, okay, just let them come. Let the small little children come to me.
All you who labor and heavy labor.
Julia Senga, come on. There is absolutely no way. The extra 2,000 people were very well organized, were very well choreographed. It was part of the plan.
They knew they were coming.
Yes. That meeting was for 7,000 people. How did the people, all of them, come and find seats? Everybody was sitting on a seat.
All 20,000?
Yes.
Were they all seated?
Many of them were seated. If it was only 5,000 seats, how come we had an extra?
The structure that they were in cannot accommodate 20,000 people.
No, others outside.
No, the people outside
and even those ones outside were also
seated.
seated.
Seats can be brought.
An extra 10,000 seats.
Oh, no.
Like
that
that.
one, seats.
Remember, we have 1.8 billion extra for State House.
Seats can be brought.
These things can be facilitated.
And you don't even need State House. All you just need to consider functions and people who deal with functions and events.
There's a guy.
That one. There is a guy who has put it, and you make a call.
Yeah.
Okay?
And they're brought.
And seats arrive.
Chop, chop.
Oh,
Yes.
Nani.
Chop, chop.
Given as they're negotiating entry, seats are arriving.
So the president then addressed some 20,000 odd people yesterday, and he said very many things. Clearly, he was talking to the region and saying, you have been lied to. You've been told that I abandoned you. I have not abandoned you. I have been working. But this person that we came together with in 2013 and 2017 and you voted us in together went and instead of focusing on work, he started campaigning. And I chose to work instead. The youth have been led astray by what you've been told by these people. Jeremiah Kioni, the MP for Ndaragwa, which is in Mount Kenya, told us this morning that indeed this ground has shifted very much into the conversation around the hustler, around UDA. So much so that concerned about this, they sought audience with the president last year. And they told him, Mr. President, you have to come and reverse this tide. Otherwise, tutamalizwa huko chini. Said, I am working. I'm busy. And you see me, I'm busy. Am I campaigning?
Working.
Me, I'm working. Why do you want me to do that? So when the president said, I'm going to, when time is right, I'll come and start talking, he started yesterday. With all those things that he said, did he turn the tide, reverse the tide of what's been happening? Or is at the beginning of a reversal of that tide?
Well, it would depend on what he said then, whether it landed on fertile ground for that tide to be turned. There's an edited version of what he said. And there's some things that have stood out, right? He said, as we start off, those who are saying this leader, this person does not understand work because they always speak, and then in quotes, because they always speak to themselves and I don't answer them. The economy is down. One of them was the Minister for Finance. Tell him that all the money he was in charge of in all the years he was finance minister is not even half of what I give to the governors who are here. Kibaki left me an economy worth 5 trillion shillings. Today, the person I will give the government to will run an economy worth 13 trillion. That's one. They keep talking because no one is answering them. Today, I will answer and tell them. Then they come here and try to teach us about agriculture. When my father was leaving this earth, the government was not paying school fees. It is parents who used to pay using this money from tea, coffee and rice. They came and finished all of these. All these years, since they are saying they are coming to fix, who was in charge of the Ministry of Agriculture? Was it them or I? Coffee and tea are back within a year and a half after Peter Munya took over. Milk and pyrethrum farmers now have better prices and rice prices have gone up and imports are down. This money was going to Pakistan. It is not possible for anyone who did not fix agriculture all that time to do so now. Do you want Munya to continue working with that, or do you want us to bring back the criminals? Let us speak the truth, he said. Those who are vying, tell the people the truth. They will heckle you today, but tomorrow you will ask them, why are you heckling me? They're always dancing on cars, sunroofs, but they don't work. Is the government elected to stand on top of cars or deliver services? And it is not that I have a problem with anyone, but it is that it is better that it has been said that it is better to have an old man sitting on a stool instead of a lad on top of a tree. I would rather be with my old man. We will consult and decide the best way to go. Let them say Jubilee is dead, but let them also tell me where 13 trillion shillings came from. Some of the things that he was saying Test and see. Look at what it is that we have done. You've been saying 1, 2, 3, the other, but I'm telling you, and then try and fault me on these things. So it would appear as though he was coming to answer all the things that have been said over the last 4 years. He was coming to say,
I have worked.
I've been working. You people have been making noise, but I've been working. Did it resonate in the minds of people who were listening to him yesterday and say, actually, hold on a minute? So he's not answered all this time. He's kept quiet, and now he's answering. Did it then solidify doubt, or did it solidify truth in the minds of people to say, actually, you know what? Things are actually better off than they were before?
It ran interference with the narrative that had been dominant, at the very least. Because if he hadn't been saying anything and now he's saying something, at least you have something to compare what the dominant narrative had been. You can say, okay, this is what we've been hearing, and this is what the president is saying. And the challenge here is, folks, why don't you just look and see if what I'm saying is true or not? It's not complicated. Is what I'm saying true or not?
If the people have not been feeling these things, if I'm living in this house and it's very, very cold, and then you come in and tell me, but you see, I've turned on the heater. If you don't believe me, go and check. Here's the heater. Do you think the person now who has been believing that the heater is off and you turned off the heater will suddenly, because you've come and told them,
but the
I've
question
turned on
remains
the heater,
in the mind
go
of
and
the
check.
individual that the heater can be on, but I am still not feeling the warmth. And for them, the thing is, I do not care if there's 1 or 2 heaters on. Am I feeling the warmth? I was cold. Am I now warm? Because for people resonating is the truth of the matter is that you can say you did 1, 2, 3, but they will ask, has life become easier for me? Less expensive?
If you live somewhere near the coast, what you need is not a heater. It's already hot and warm anyway.
Yep.
It's if you live in a place which is predominantly cold, whether it's the middle of the day, whether it's at night. The issue is how much colder it is. Now, the question you want to ask is this. Given the prevailing circumstance that people see in President Uhuru's backyard, is it something that is peculiar to that backyard, or is it something that is in the whole country? And I would argue it's in the whole country. Many young people, many with training, many with education, but do not have placement, can't find jobs.
Are frustrated today.
Yes.
Were frustrated 5 years ago. They're even a little bit more frustrated
and their
today.
numbers keep increasing. So what's the truth about the situation? Is it that the government is unable to manage a situation where this particular problem can be remedied? Or is it that the president neglected these people? Which is it? Or is it that the process of finding a solution simply takes a much longer time than we think it does?
Is it even as complicated as we are making it? Or is it all a matter of, just like you said, it's perceptions? And a perception will just need for you to come and send a different perception, and different message. I look at your body language. There's something that will make me want to trust in you. Inherently, I have some affinity to UCT. Okay? Then I don't see you for a long time. And Ndu keeps coming to tell me, CT has been saying these things about you. CT, let me tell you, Eric. Hi, CT, have you seen him? Have you seen CT coming? Last week you were feeling unwell. Did CT call you? The other day you were feeling, that like you needed someone to talk to. Did you?
When you called him, did he pick his phone?
Did he pick his phone? Did you? Then CT comes and CT says, "Look, man, I was out there working. I was trying to sort you out. Okay, here I am. Forget about what she's been telling you. What she's been telling you, she's been lying. Am I likely to start looking into the details of, did he even ever call me?
No, because CT now is here.
Or is it that I've always liked CT and now he's back?
That's it. Let's roll.
But even more importantly, that definitely is a very, very huge part of the narrative. But the other part of the narrative is this. When I am troubled and I am in distress, I need to find a reason for it. And there's no better reason than finding someone to blame for my situation.
Yeah.
So if someone presents me the situation to explain to me that the problem I'm having is not really because of anything I've done. It is peculiar to me because so-and-so is the one who's responsible. It's a narrative that human beings welcome very easily. Finding someone to explain or to blame, to explain about or to blame for the terrible situation that you find yourself in. Now, politically speaking, remember, there is no time in our history when we haven't had problems that require resolving. All these hullabaloo about electing leaders, government. It's so that solutions can be found to these problems. What is unique about the problems that we currently have that requires the national government's intervention and which cannot be resolved within the county system? What is it that can't be addressed logically and be explained logically so that you can actually understand? The reason why we're having this problem is because of this, that, and the other. Is it that the country, the government doesn't have enough money? Is it that the government delays giving counties? Whatever reason you want to give. And when you've summed up all these things, is the president the one to blame? You see, once you have a devolved government, you have devolved solutions.
And devolved responsibility.
And devolved blame. Okay? But when you place it all at the doorstep of the executive, then that, in my view, is a false narrative. It is not true. It simply isn't true.
So, and then there's the political side now, the direct political side, which is what the president was also saying. He was saying, the man that you give me the mandate with, and this is the Deputy President William Ruto, has gone and abandoned ship. He started doing his own things. He's been coming here spreading lies while I've been working. He has not been working. He's just been spreading lies. And as he says that, and we've been told by Jeremiah Kioni, that narrative by Ruto had actually taken hold in the region. And the narrative by Ruto is, Uhuru betrayed me. You gave us the mandate together. The man betrayed me. Handshake, blah, 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 blah. Uhuru betrayed me. Yesterday, Uhuru came and told the people, Ruto is not the man for the job. Ruto abandoned ship. He's not the man for the job. Let's give it to Raila. Now, has the president been able to actually start eating into that narrative that had been created by Uhuru, that has actually been holding sway, as we've been told, by Ruto, that Uhuru abandoned, Uhuru betrayed, and therefore the people who've been saying, yeah, we are voting, we are going for Ruto is because, we don't understand. We gave them the job together and the other man abandoned, betrayed him. That's why we're standing with Ruto. That's the message that is there in Mount Kenya. We are with Ruto because we voted for them and the other man betrayed him. Now, that's why we're with Ruto. Yesterday, Uhuru goes and says, this man jumped ship. He's not even suitable and fit to be president. He's not a safe pair of hands to live in this country, at present at least. Those two, do you think Uhuru has managed to send that message to that constituency?
I would look at it
Ruto, why it cannot be Ruto in the headline, my deputy is unfit to rule.
I would look at it this way, that what is being stated by the president is that my deputy has been campaigning when I have been working and we were supposed to be working.
Yes.
Now, if I give it a 360 perspective and look at the country, indeed, the deputy president and his people have been campaigning. And would you say that the president and his people have been campaigning? I would say minimally. But now with Sagana 3, Firimbi, the whistle has blown.
Game on.
The game is now on. Now, full-blown campaign where everyone is going everywhere and doing what everybody else is doing. Somebody gave me a very interesting analogy a while back when I asked them this. Somebody who understands political issues, perhaps a little more than I do sometimes. He said, we have a situation where you have a very beautiful girl dancing on her own. They're very well dressed. So then you'll have a situation where other beautiful girls come in, and these ones have been spending more time in the salon and even have better hairdo. And they have even better hair, the dance style. You suddenly realize, yeah, that lady was good looking and could dance.
But this one?
But these ones are, goodness, these are something to look at. So we are now in a position where we can make choice and decide which one is a better dancer, which one has better hairdo, which one dresses better. Political competition, if you ask me, for the 2022 presidential campaign started yesterday in full earnest. Competition, not campaigning, competition. That is how I view it.
Do the words of Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday begin to turn that tide?
Yes, it does. It does, and I'll tell you why I think so. The narrative that Raila Odinga got next to 0 votes in Central Province is not true. It isn't true because even in Luo Nyanza, anyone who's been associated with the presidency in central Kenya has always gotten votes.
Yeah, what percentage though?
A minuscule percentage.
Okay, next to zero.
Statistically irrelevant. But the thing about central Kenya is they haven't been as cohesive a force as Raila Odinga's backyard. The cohesiveness comes about when there's one presidential candidate. If there's more than one, you see the divide. And this even shows in how central Kenya elects their leaders. They don't elect leaders under one party banner. You have a nice diversity of people who get elected. So all I'm saying is this. From the time Raila Odinga has vied for the president, forget 1997, you're talking about 2008 onwards. If we take the view, and I mentioned it when Mheshimiwa Kioni was here, that Central Kenya did not vote for him. Okay? And I also mentioned that the population of people who are eligible to vote keeps increasing with every passing year. I would argue that he has not needed the vote of Central Kenya. If it hasn't been there, he has managed to get what he has without it. And Mheshimiwa Kioni more or less alluded to this and said, look, his take is with the president's speech, that 6% that he needs, he got. I am saying, even if that 6% wasn't there, given how our population increases with every passing year, and as you tell me from time to time, in a free and fair election, he would win the election, even without that particular vote.
He's mad. So Raila has not needed an extra 6% to win an election.
All this time
44% was enough for him to win an election. What are you telling us?
I'm saying he hasn't had the 6%.
Yes.
And with every passing year, the voter population increases.
He would have gotten the 6%.
Yeah, thank you very much. The voter population increases every single year.
And
for
calling
5
that
years,
6% is only being bought in the region that supports him.
I am trying to say...
No.
Actually, why don't you just look at the census and tell us which is the areas of this particular country that has the fastest growing populations?
Yeah, you tell us which ones.
It is in central Kenya.
Okay, but which ones?
Western, northeastern province. Yes, those are the places where the population keeps increasing
and
in
what
large
percentage?
Oh no!
How many years would Raila need to vie for that 6%?
What they say,
because the population is growing. Anyway, that's a very
no. They don't look at it in terms of percentage. Let me answer your question, Eric. They look at it in terms of the average number of children per family. To put it in lay terms,
yes,
live births.
Yes, that's how they look at it.
Yes,
it's a political argument that I'm putting forward, and I'm saying this. I'm not even talking about the complaints and the issues that went to the Supreme Court. I'm simply saying that the Central Kenya vote has not featured in Raila's elections. And so I'm asking the question, does he need it now?
So as what we're being told is that if this, 960,000, as what we're being told now, is what would essentially be delivered to him, then there's some sort of guarantee. But essentially is that it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. With the rising population, he would have gotten these numbers somewhere else.
Yeah,
if his support
how many years?
If his support,
but the election takes place after every 5 years.
Yeah, but not in this particular year. Surely,
if his support continues to grow in the pattern.
No, it isn't. 2017 to this is 5 years, Eric.
Yes.
The population has increased in 5 years, and we haven't had a presidential election.
Yes.
Hold on.
Until
We're
now.
saying if the support,
in the entire country,
if the support mirrors what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what you're saying essentially is that this 1 million that essentially he got, quote unquote, in the minds or perceptions of people yesterday, that it wouldn't have mattered anyway. If things continued, mirrored with the support that he had received previously, he would have gotten that 1 million from somewhere else anyway.
That's precisely what I'm saying.
There's 1 million other young people from Nyanza and where else, and Western and where else, and Ukambani.
Actually,
that would have bridged that gap without any million from those other regions. From Mount Kenya and Rift Valley.
Why don't I put it to you this way? Why don't you present me the counter argument which actually would negate what I'm saying?
I don't even need to go into a counter argument because the premise of your argument is already flawed.
How?
Because the population of this country is not growing skewed in Nyanza and Ukambani.
Yes.
So if it's not skewed towards Nyanza and Ukambani, how can you tell me that the 6% of the last 5 years,
the election,
the people who have come of age, the people who have come of age in the last 5 years are enough to actually bridge the 44% to 50% plus one vote?
Actually, they can, because you speak of Luoland and Ukambani, but the coalition Raila had was not Luoland and Ukambani.
Those Western as well.
Yes. There were many other players in it. Very many other players in it. And these are areas where the population has been growing. It is an argument that I'm forwarding. It's a discussion point. If the population has been growing, but something I haven't mentioned, alliances with regions has also been changing.
Right.
Okay? Now, if those alliances have been changing, and you see regions not having a dominant party, but having many parties, it makes for an even better argument in that the possibility of actually getting even more votes from some of these splinter groups is even higher. You forget to mention the coast, which also has a huge vote and has predominantly voted. I'm simply saying that if you look at the configuration of how people have voted in this country and the increase in population, and I'm raising the question, you're talking 6%. Does he really need the 6% vote from Central Kenya? That's what I'm asking.
Okay. So let's ask the question then. Do you think the president's speech yesterday was able to sway the Mount Kenya and actually split the Mount Kenya support? We've been told by Jeremiah Kioni, you know what? The president was coming to speak to the region and rally the region behind him. Is it enough? President told us Ruto is not the man for the job. Ruto has told us Uhuru is the one who betrayed me. So does Uhuru saying Ruto is not the man for the job change the matrix of the forthcoming election? Has he shifted the mountain as he wanted to do? Is he shifting the conversations around the country? Because like Jeremiah Kioni told us, even other parts of the country were waiting for the president to say what he needed to say yesterday. Does that change much? It's 9:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's open up the phone line, 0719 012 600. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
SpiceFM is taking you and 4 of your friends to the movies courtesy of everyone's favorite delicious fruit-flavored soda, Fanta and Anga Cinema. All you have to do to win movie tickets for your squad to an exclusive pre-screening of The Batman is to brush up on your Batman movie trivia and join me, Yolanda, and DJ Absolute on Sugar and Spice every weekday from 11 a.m. for your chance at a front row seat to witness cinema history.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. No, ni mtu wa Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's mostly cloudy at 18 in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15. 13 will be the low in Nyeri, where it's cloudy at 18. We'll see highs of 22. Eldoret, sunny at 19, highs of 23 and lows of 13. Mostly cloudy conditions in Mombasa at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 26. And we look at cloudy conditions at 29 in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Kisumu is sunny at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 19. It's mostly cloudy at 23 in Kakamega, highs of 27 and lows of 14. Looking out into Kampala, it's cloudy at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 20, while in Dar es Salaam, the rain continues at 27. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 26. 27 is what it is in Lagos and sunny, highs of 34 and lows of 26, while sunny conditions rule Johannesburg skies, highs of 27 and lows of 15. It's partly sunny at 24 in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 24. Let's look out into Beijing. We're at 8 degrees. It's sunny going into early evening Thursday. We'll see highs of 9 and lows of -6. 7 degrees and cloudy in Paris. We'll see highs of 12 and lows of 3, while it's raining in London at 9 degrees. 9 will be the high today. We'll see lows of 5 and 1 degree coming into Thursday in New York. We'll see highs of 2 and lows of 0.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
We'll be out of traffic hour in a beat, but what we're looking at right now is that Langata Road looking a lot better, and Gong Road still looking quite messy. Brilo Dinga Way, halfway into it is where we see some traffic. Lunga started really early and it's still crawling along. As you get towards that Lekoni Road interchange, getting towards the southern bypass, also some traffic there, but nothing to worry about, not too much. Jogo Road started early and it's not about to. It's probably going to be the stragglers trying to cross the line of traffic hour. Thika Super Highway also, traffic is diminishing as you get towards the Pangani underpass. So it's not been too much of a crazy morning. Mombasa Road, on the other hand, in and outbound traffic all the way from Imara Daima, outbound towards General Motors, inbound all the way through to the SGR. So still looking pretty messy this morning. Keep an eye on things through the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It is 24 minutes to 10. The conversation continues. Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600. Did President Uhuru Kenyatta move the mountain? Did he? With the speech that he made yesterday at Sagana. 0719-012-600. We want to hear from you. So let me pick this one. John in Kilimani, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very well.
Yes, very interesting day.
Yes.
As I listen, let me not say listen because I was not here. I was hearing, but I was not understanding what you were saying, which was also a very unfortunate thing for head of state to do. But that's a discussion for another day. But I'm just asking myself, somebody say, you never write your own history. And that's what the president was trying to do yesterday. He was trying to write his own history. You don't go to the people and you start telling them what you have done. People are supposed to see. He didn't have to tell what was that guy who was, I'm told he's in charge of what?
Of presidential delivery.
Project. Presidential delivery.
Yep.
Unit.
Yes. Why do you have to go through all that effort to convince people that you have been working?
Because people are hoodwinked sometimes, you know.
And also they don't believe you.
You bring nyama every day home.
Yes.
It is converted into mincemeat there. And then people are told, tunakulanga tu hizi hatukulangi nyama.
Kwa sababu huoni mfupa.
Now the man has to show, here is a receipt from the butchery. I bought a quarter.
Daily.
And it is beef. It is not goat or donkey meat.
Yeah.
His predecessor, Kibaki. Kibaki never, even once, stood and told people what he has done as a president. We are the ones who have been saying Kibaki did this, Kibaki did this, Kibaki did this.
Yep.
So if you have done something, you don't have to tell people. People will see it, people will feel it, and you don't have to be so angry about that somebody is spreading lies about it.
So you don't think what he said yesterday has had any impact on the audience?
The jury is out there, but I believe it will be... the other thing that they have to deal with, and I heard Kioni say, is not just what Ruto has been saying. In fact, to me, that is the least of the problem. The big thing that the people from Central have to deal with is what they have been telling the people of Central about Raila themselves, not what Ruto has been saying. If somebody told you something about a neighbor, and your father told you something about a neighbor, you are bound more to believe what your father told you than what a neighbor said.
Yeah.
So they have to deal with what they say, not what Ruto has been saying. And that's where they're missing the point.
But that's the thing, John, that people have been listening to what the neighbor has been saying, and that's why he felt as though he needed to come and counter that. That people not just listen to what the neighbor said, but that have actually started to believe it, and for a long period of time.
So the issue is not what the neighbor has been saying, is what you have been saying for
What
a
you've
long
been saying
time.
for a long time, and now someone else is
For a
saying it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
So
you, John.
you're concentrating. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from others. Edwin Washira, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Where are you today?
Ndu.
Yeah. You sound like you're throwing something, but all right. Ndu, yes.
Yes, actually it's supposed to be Ndu.
It's not, but okay.
Now, City.
Yes, sir.
Mwalimu,
Yes, sir.
uko poa?
Maridadi kabisa.
Edwin, what do you think of the president's speech yesterday?
One, I watched the entire clip. Oh, what an angry man. And you wonder why he's angry and why is he angry and who is he angry at? And he should be angry at himself. Now, the issue here we have is that he has been out of touch with us and then he came back with a bang. It's like your father, when your father was working maybe somewhere very far, he comes back, is that your mother has taken control of the household, he has no authority, so he comes back and makes a lot of noise. So, yes, he's going to shift some votes. And why he's going to shift them is because in Central, we don't have a kingpin. He remains the kingpin currently.
Okay.
Most likely what is going to happen is that there's going to be a split of those votes, maybe 70-30, 60-40. And I agree, he should be looking for those votes for Raila because Ruto himself, he also has his own base.
Okay.
And independent of Uhuru, he has also been eating into Raila's areas. So he needs to fight for Raila to get some votes in Central, and he will get them.
Okay. Thank you, Edwin.
Yes.
Mwalimu Irongo Amos, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Eric?
Fine, thanks.
Moses, how are you?
I have this suspicion that you're referring to me. And as the most... Mwalimu, I am well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you, Ndu?
I'm very well, Mwalimu.
Now let me give my thoughts. Moses will do well to remember that I made some contribution some time back. And then I said that these guys, I don't know who have been in Auckland now, some of them are not, Kalonzo and the rest will fall back to either side. And then Moses called me a prophet. So I wish you would go back and look at that thing again, but that's just beside the point. People will run around and say that Uhuru is, I don't know, writing his own history, doing this and that. That vote is shifting, and I can tell you from what he did yesterday, there are many people who have been living with the belief that Raila is being deceived. That in the end, Uhuru will turn back and tell his people, let us vote Ruto. They have been waiting for the bell to ring and that bell was rung yesterday in broad daylight. So I would advise Rigati and his friends to either work harder or move to some other place to look for votes. But central as it is today, and particularly Mount Kenya as a whole, they will get something, but it will be very small. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Mwalimu. George is in Nyeri. Good morning.
Good morning, the man in the chair.
How are you doing, George?
I'm doing good. So I have to make this contribution in a very funny way.
Okay.
This man who has been working in Nairobi, and he gets back home, and he tells Kenodia, you know what? Don't listen to what your mother has been telling you. I have not left alone the family. I was going to search for greener pastures.
Yes.
And Kenodia, remember, I'm your father.
Yes.
The time that a man gets to tell his family that he is the father, definitely there is something wrong. Something else, the president may have and may have not moved much votes. As we take our time back in memory, in 2002, the president was in the ballot with Moi Kibaki. And most people in the central region never voted for him. The reason why he was voted in 2013, it's because we had that notion of we are saving our sons from the mouth of a dragon. So we never actually voted them because we wanted the best for the country, because we wanted the best from our sons. And I think that's where we have a very big problem. Because we have come to realize that we have a president who maybe is not the president we wanted. We have a deputy, maybe not the deputy we wanted. And I think iko shida mahali.
Let me ask you a question. If you say, if I'm to go with the argument about the narrative was we want to save our son from the mouth of the dragon. If you were to turn back the tide and there was no Hague and there was no custodial matters hanging over their heads, you as a person, do you actually think that the voting pattern would have been different?
It would have been different, very different. Were it not for 2007, that is the Hague factor, things would have been totally different. And maybe we are looking at this thing as a very nice thing of holding Sagana 1, 2, and 3. But come to think of it in 2040s, where we'll have a president from maybe we have Madam Jaldesa or Mohamed Kuti, or we have Duale, who is the president. And now, as the time he goes to retire, he goes and calls his clansmen and tells them, you know what, this is the way forward. I think we are now regrouping our country to some tribal cocoons. Because again, you know, Latiff, the president went there and spoke in the local dialect. But he is the president. Don't forget the fact that he is the president. And we only have two languages as the national language that can be used in and out of office legally. The others, you can only communicate in the market, in the tamas. How do you think of it?
But then, George, the bottom line, whether he spoke in English, Kikuyu, Kikamba, Kiswahili, he spoke to an audience that heard him, and that was his intended audience. Do you think he was able to sway them?
Definitely not, because I'm able to be in some of these political WhatsApp groups, and some of the people in the group attended. And they were like, no, you know what, I went to attend and see what this man has to say. After all, I know where my vote is being cast. So I only went there to see what he will say, and not actually what he will say will make me change my view.
Okay. Thank you, George.
Actually, then something else, before I conclude, I'm taking too much time. The likes of Jeremiah Kioni will not tell you how the ground is. Because the youth aren't with the president. That's for sure.
Where are they?
I'll say they are with the deputy president because in one way they feel that he is the rightful man, but something else, what they come and tell you on the television is not what actually is transforming in the ground. I'm from a constituency of Kanini Kega. Na watu huko wameteta, my friend. But he will come and tell us, you know what, I have built a market for you. I have made the railway come here. You have a new market. I have done what? But definitely people are suffering. We have not been able to solve the common mwananchi issues, the milk problem. Bado maziwa inanunua ile bei ya kutupa. But we come to the national radio and tell you everything is okay.
Okay, George, we hear you. Let's hear from others as well.
Thank you so much.
Good day.
Thank you, George.
Lydia in Parklands, good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM, Siti, Ndu, and Eric.
Good morning,
Thank
Lydia.
you for your intelligent discussions. Today, Uhuru and William Ruto was okay because of Hague, this unity. But, now this Pokot man gave me some intelligence. He said he worked as a guard in Nairobi, but he hates to go to his country. Because if he doesn't rob your cattle and your sheep and kill your shepherd boys, he will be called a jinga. So now this is showing us results of different ways. So Pokot, Borana, Kalenjins, I am afraid of them. If it is their culture, they do it. My mother's business in 1972, she paid 150.
Lydia, let me ask you, Lydia, from what the president said yesterday, do you think what the president said yesterday has been able to sway the votes from one side to another?
It's good when they talk like that, so they give us some brain to think how things work. It's good even to campaign for elections now. It's not wrong. They should we should always discuss.
Okay.
And it gives us, but look, from 150 shilling trade license, it went to 6,000, paid to city council, and not to commerce and industry. This cattle rustling type of attitude, I'm tired.
Thank you, Lydia. John Joroge in Mombasa, hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
My favorite trio.
Morning, John.
Okay, my take is this. The influence or the way... he wasn't able to move people much because of these reasons. The things that really rubs Central the wrong way have never been addressed. Because when he said, it's been only 1 year and a half since Kijana Munya took over agriculture, and the tide of good tidings of kahawa, coffee, tea, wakulima wakaanza kupata. I may ask this thing. He's the chairman. He chairs the meeting of cabinet. Anything ministry does is as a result of everything that has been discussed in the cabinet.
Yeah.
So the mountain people, their issues have not been addressed. When I listen to Mr. Kioni and he says that we don't want to be in the cold, can a person tell me now because the mountain people have been the government, then they are better off than the people in Nyanza or Western? So we don't really need to be in a government because even when we're in a government, we don't see the results. And now the person in charge is the president. And there's no way a government or a person in charge of the government can come and tell the people that some things have not been done, and that's the same thing he told us that he'll do.
Okay.
He wasn't able to do those things.
So it's for both of them. So for the president and his deputy should not come and tell us anything that did not work or worked in government.
Exactly. Even because the price of fuel that's really rubbing Kenyans the wrong way, it was appended in a cabinet meeting.
Yeah.
And they were there. So they are taking us for a ride.
Yeah.
And gully boys we buy.
Thank you, John.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Zachary.
Oh, good morning, people.
Good morning.
Morning, person. How are you?
Oh, I'm good person. It's been a while, you guys.
It
but,
has.
I hope you have.
Are you keeping well?
I'm well, Mwalimu. You have been seeing the comments that I've been making when you have guests there. And you have been having very, very good guests there.
Asante. So,
starting with the respected Prof. Muruka.
From what we saw yesterday, Zachary, in Sagana.
Yep.
Do you think it changes anything?
No.
Why?
And let me say this: it was kind of turned, and I have not had anyone mention this. It was a scorecard for the president, which came too early. Okay. At the same time, in our culture, we have a saying that you do not blow your own trumpet. Shoro. The trumpet is Shoro in Kikuyu. And let me say this for everyone who may just care to listen, yeah? And I'm priding myself because I think most of the big wigs are agreeing with the things that have been saying there. First of all, the president himself said, remember your history. That these people did and this and that and that to you. And I also said that most of the people who are going to vote today and the ones who are throwing tantrums in social media especially, they are people who do not know how to go to school without a school means. They don't know what a pothole looks actually. They don't know. And the president said that. And we need to talk to these people. We remind them our history. Mr. Miguna, whom I respect so much, said what I said earlier there, I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, that Raila has diminished his, let me say not dignity, but credibility by joining the bandwagon. And Mr. Miguna repeated that yesterday in KTN through an interview. Now, I'm saying this, Mr. Eric, yeah? The president said we should remember our history. And I agree with you. But then, it is the same president who, when he was talking about why he did the hardship, which was good, actually. But then at a certain point, he called everyone Washenzi. You remember him using that word?
Yes.
At another juncture, he said, the Kikuyus and the Kalenjin have led this country. He said himself, verbatim, I quote, I can say that, or I think it is time for another whatever. That differentiates the Kikuyus, and that is why we do not, like me myself, I do not have that much either to celebrate whatever is happening because that person is enfranchised to be. Okay. And I'm telling the Kikuyus, there is this person called Moga Ndu Okoh. Okay? Moga Ndu Okoh was a sage or a soothsayer, if I can, correct my kind of English and history. Yeah? That guy, let me refer to all the Kikuyus to go and try to look at what that person said, the soothsayer.
What did he say? What did he say?
I won't say it, but I would say it. I probably I'm giving you, including you, homework. If anybody there.
Apart from predicting the train coming, what else did he predict of significance, Zachary?
Oh, he said other things. But I won't mention them. But I've given you as a historian and a researcher. Okay, that guy want everybody. Okay? But then they left me on a sober note.
Let's conclude.
On a sober note. We Kikuyu should reflect. Let us remember our history, Mr. Eric. And I wish you a good day and a nice whatever. And I'm also trying to go through the whatever list.
Okay, you have a good one. All the best for that assignment. Thank you very much, Zachary. Well, time will tell.
Indeed.
Like City said, Firimbi was yesterday. We have now gotten into that season. It's going to be political competition season. Let's see how it goes out. Internet addiction.
How to protect your child from internet addiction. Very important message coming from ways to protect your child on the internet. Make sure that your child sticks to their normal schedule. They should not skip meals or break regular bedtime due to excessive use of the internet. Use parental controls. Set a limit on the duration and time that your child can spend on online gaming. Place the computer in a common area in the house so that you can keep an eye on your child's online gaming. This is defined as any online-related compulsive behavior which interferes with normal living and causes severe stress on family, friends, loved ones, and one's work environment. Play Cyber Soldiers on www.ca.go.ke, all in an attempt to make the internet a safer place where children can play and learn, and in some cases then report when anything does go bad.
Indeed. More on that tomorrow. City, the day's proverb.
The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
The bald woman boasts of her sister's hair.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for tuning into the Situation Room today. Join us again tomorrow morning. We'll be here bright and early, 6 a.m. up to 10 a.m. for more conversations, and we'd love to have you join us. Now until 11, you have some music, and then from 11 a.m., you have DJ Absolute and Yolanda. Sugar and Spice until 2. 3 o'clock, Edward Quach on Spice Drive, and then the adults in the room from 7 till 10 p.m. Have a lovely day, folks. It's now 10 a.m.